hi. It's Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019. It's the Giant Bombcast. I'm Brad Shoemaker. Jeff Gersman is here. Jason A. Stryker is here. Jan Ochoa is
That's
here.
me. I'm here also.
Ben Pack is out on an October assignment.
Spooky.
See you, dude.
Ghost hunting.
Yeah.
May or may not return.
We got him the best ghost equipment that no budget could buy.
He's busting ghosts.
It's a roll of foil.
Oh. What do you do with that?
You crinkle it, and the ghosts don't like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
They act like divining rods.
Yeah.
It disrupts their ectoplasmic
The EKG
pattern.
You sense the
coherency.
Checks out.
you put your hand over your mouth, and you can see the
Class.
We couldn't find a Ouija board, so we got him a boogie board. Those were on sale.
I wrote some letters on it.
Yeah.
Like F-U-C-K. There's an O in there, and then two Fs. I don't know. I accidentally put two Fs.
Okay.
And then I handed it to
That's a
him.
lot of Fs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ghosts have very specific thoughts.
One's a lowercase f. That's why there's two Fs.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very versatile.
Yeah. These ghost problems are severe. Happy Ghost Problems Day.
He's about to have ghost problems more.
Happy anniversary of, this is not technically the anniversary of Ghost Problems, but that wrestling game came out today.
Okay.
And it sounds like it has larger problems than just ghosts.
It's finally time for ghost problems most.
Not enough. It was not enough to put the ghost problems in a story creator. Now they have
No.
just let the ghosts infect every single mode of the game.
I put that
People's
in
hair.
I put that in news, but you just want to talk about it now?
We talked about it a little bit last week.
Okay.
But
But it feels like it's really reaching a critical mass.
I installed it last night when it came
so
out.
you have actually put your hands on it.
Like very, very briefly, because it was like 55 gigs, and I was like installed, and I was like, oh, okay.
What
all
is
right.
even in that for
Yeah.
55 gigs?
Really good skin textures, man.
I mean, there are it's like hitting the headlines on blog sites at this point.
It's
How messed up WWE 20.
It's like
2K20
Christmas.
is.
It's like fucking Game Bug Christmas, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the same way that like all those, remember like the Saints Row bug compilation videos and how those fucking every single clip I see of the WWE game it's even when it's working, you're like, man, this looks fucked up. But then like all these clips of like referees clipping through the mat and laying all over Charlotte Flair, like just like that's my favorite one.
Didn't you say that?
It's crazy.
Did I understand that they held an influencer event?
Yeah.
And influencers came back posting footage of how bad it
Like
looked?
once the embargo
you know
broke on that, I think a lot of them like there was a lot of footage out of that event. They were just like, check
things
this
are
shit
fucked
out.
then.
Yeah, I feel like when you've lost your core influencers, you don't have much left.
I feel like some of the people they invited to that event are people that like clown on that game on the reg. So I don't know.
As long as people keep buying it.
Well, so that's the thing, man. Like, what the fuck is it gonna like? I look. I it's fucking bold to be sitting over here going like, when will the WWE care about quality? But like, look, man, what the fuck? Like, when does a license holder say like, hey, this has risen to a fever pitch now?
There's a tipping point
Like,
at some point.
Yeah.
Like you are making our brand look bad, which
I feel like the McMahons have bigger concerns at this point.
you'd think
Got
but
more going on.
No, like you say that, but like I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe Linda McMahon.
Yes.
There's other people that this falls on, right? I mean, it doesn't go all the way up to the top.
There
Like,
has to
somebody's
be.
got to be.
So I was kind of shocked to see that this is now all being laid at the feet of Visual Concepts.
Right.
Who
Yeah.
is a
Ukes is out.
storied and
Yeah.
highly respected developer.
Like people used to like clown on Ukes every year
Right.
for all this stuff, but
Yeah.
at some point in the process, Ukes took a back seat. Whether it was like them getting out there and saying like, yeah, they don't let us make a good game. like maybe not in those words, but like, they don't really let us do the cool stuff we want to do because we got to crank this thing out every October.
Annual release, to be
Yeah.
fair. It's not easy to make a game in a year.
And it's long been the case, or well, I shouldn't say this as a fact per se, but it's long been thought that even back in the THQ, especially back in the THQ days, but it seems like 2K hasn't necessarily done anything that dramatically different, that like these games were made as cheaply as possible because they knew they would sell no matter what.
Oh, sure.
And it was that feeling of just like, what's the bare minimum we can do? And that's not to say that there aren't people working on those games who care very deeply about them, but they're often hamstrung by budgets and money and timetables and all the other stuff. I mean, there have definitely been people over the years that have cared a great deal about making those products and trying to make them as good as they can. I just feel like that they have been pretty abysmal for a very long time.
Yeah, and again, it feels like this year is really
and
an inflection point.
Yeah,
for
this year it seems like
upness of that franchise.
Well, I think like there's just a lot. I mean, the sentiment around WWE is really weird right now because they moved SmackDown to network television. It's on Fox now.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So that's like a few weeks old. That is like literally, have the potential to reach way more people.
Yeah.
The ratings there have not, like, the guy that they brought in to run the show was there for about 2 weeks, like a month or so.
83 days.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. 80 days. Sure. 83 days. Let's call it that.
Forgive me. Is SmackDown the weekly one?
They're both weekly.
the other
SmackDown
one?
is Friday. Raw. Raw is the Monday night show. SmackDown has moved around. Is now Fridays.
I was trying to figure out where Monday Nitro fit into all this. That's how dated my information is.
It's Monday Nitro would be a welcome fucking reprieve from. Oh man, I'd take Thunder some weeks.
Wow. Okay.
You said SmackDown's Friday?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it in prime time?
It's
On Fox?
It is
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
What?
How long is that show?
2 hours
That
still.
one's only 2 hours.
Yeah, that one's only
Of course,
two.
I mean, Friday is like the
Totally the wasteland
TV
of,
graveyard. So
Yeah.
But like they got a huge push from Fox. It was like they were being promoted across all the sports and all this other stuff, and like the ratings haven't been holding. And it's like it's hard to know because if you listen to people on the internet, it's like Fox is freaking out, the ratings are slipping. But like, what the fuck do any of these assholes know about television or ratings? But at the same time, it doesn't look good when you look at like, oh, the prime demographic for wrestling, like they're not even watching, and or not watching the numbers that a like for the amount of money Fox reportedly gave to wrestling. You look at the numbers coming back, you're like, people probably aren't stoked about it, and them bouncing the guy out that was supposed to be the executive producer of SmackDown.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like not long after he got there.
well,
And he was reported as not knowing but most of the current crop of talent.
Hey,
at
why
all.
would you? If
Yeah.
you were Eric Bischoff living in fucking Wyoming or wherever the fuck he lives,
Yeah.
why would you know?
Wait.
They brought Bischoff in to run the show.
that's who you're talking about?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
They brought Bischoff back.
I figured it was just some like suit that had never touched wrestling ever.
No, like the reports.
Not that they haven't done that as well.
It's
I mean,
hard
yeah.
to sit in here and like take the reports as fact because wrestling reporting. You're reporting on, like the people that are wrestling reporters. I feel like get worked on the regular. And
Appropriate.
Yeah, right.
Well, they should know better.
Yeah, you'd like to think so. And so a lot of that reporting it's very rumor heavy. It's very tabloid-esque at times. And I think some people have been in there trying to change that and do better work lately, but it's a weird field, right? And so it's hard to take a lot of that stuff at face value about like, oh, the reports are that Bischoff doesn't know shit about shit. And you're like, okay.
But also
like
the
they brought
reports
him in. The reports that they brought him in because he had a good relationship with Fox and he would manage that relationship and the rest of it kind of didn't matter. But then suddenly it apparently did, or so it's a lot of the reporting is hard to fucking take. But what we do know is that dude was brought in, and after 2 weeks of that show being on in prime time, was let go completely from the company. And
He had relocated his wife and himself to be closer to
they
WWE
moved to Stanford.
HQ. Yeah.
So now the guy who played Brother Love back in the day has relocated himself to Connecticut out of Houston, and now he is the executive producer.
Okay. Well, we'll check back in 83 days.
He came up with the Kane gimmick. He's untouchable. He
Also-
helped
but I mean,
create
isn't-
the Undertaker.
Isn't Bischoff also from the time when people actually still kind of liked wrestling?
Yeah, but he was also the WCW guy. Even when they brought him into WWE years later, he was always
still the
that
enemy?
dude.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of stuff over the
Turncoat.
years where you think that like, things that are not WWE creations, sometimes you get the impression that the company will shit on them. We'll bring them into the company, and instead of taking what worked in another place and just exploiting it on a bigger platform, break it down and humble it and shit it into the bed, just really shit the bed on that stuff.
Are you possibly implying the people who run WWE are thin-skinned and petty and vindictive?
Oh,
Yes.
1,000%.
Totally.
How dare you?
That I would absolutely co-sign. It's
impossible to believe.
That's the impression I get for sure.
Also because the other reports coming out about Bischoff is like, he wanted to leave the office at 7 o'clock and have dinner with his wife, didn't want to take after-hours calls. What do you mean this guy didn't want to pick up a phone at 3 a.m.?
Right. Yeah.
And like they're shaming him for wanting to have a proper
That seems
work-life
like a
balance.
terrible culture in a lot of ways over there.
He's probably better off.
And it's always been that way. Yeah, if he's producing a Hulk Hogan documentary.
He's fine.
He's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine.
and maybe make a documentary about someone else. But
Yeah, well, sure. Yeah, I mean, I think you could make a really good Hulk Hogan documentary or biopic or whatever.
Sure.
But I don't think that's what they're making.
okay.
You know, they're going to make the real American fucking rah-rah fucking...
Much love, HH.
Good.
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
Anyway.
and to this wrestling game.
Yeah, so this wrestling game, we're going to... there's going to be a live video of it tomorrow that I'm going to try and get in on if I can. But I know Dan and Alex are going to sit down and take a look at that game in a quick look style.
Who knows what could happen? Anything could happen.
Right. Well, I feel like that's the thing. When the
camera.
cameras are rolling, I feel like we never see the good bugs. But, you know, like the list that people are forming of just like how this game is fucked up in comparison to previous years is like... Some of it seems like small stuff, but that doesn't make the list any less long. You just look at it and go like, man, there's a lot of stuff this year that they seem to, you know, for a game that's at the end of a generation, which is usually when they are the most feature rich before they make the upgrade and make the jump to next generation and do the Madden thing of stripping out a bunch of features and rolling about, you know, like this should be the best one of these, in a sense.
I was trying to look up if like any of the NBA 2K games like had gone through like a major like buggy period and at least for this year particularly, it's only the microtransaction.
That's the last several years. It's been the microtransaction stuff that has really gotten people down about that game, and also the online. The online in NBA has often been people like just going like, this fucking still sucks.
Yeah. But again, like Visual Concepts generally has been a pretty well respected developer over time.
Sure,
like going all the way back to the Dreamcast.
Yeah, totally.
Like the football games on the Dreamcast.
Exactly.
Like,
Florgan Brothers, all those great games,
all-time classics.
But like bugs and glitches aside, you know, there's questionable choices just across the board. Like, you know, they've gotten like they took out the 24/7 title and
replaced it with an old title.
Yeah, the hardcore title or something like that. And like, why can't you keep that up to date? That doesn't make any sense.
There've always been like timeliness problems with those games, especially with the roster. Right? They lock the roster at some point, and then, you know, everyone changes their looks. Someone goes out and gets 3 new tattoos and shaves their beard because they're a good guy now, and, you know, like all that other stuff. So between them getting scanned and the game coming out, a lot of people have changed their looks, or a lot, like some wrestlers has become prominent that weren't before, or maybe, hey, you decided to put your developmental brand on television on a weekly basis, so they matter more than maybe they did before. So maybe you want more of them in the game, or there's just a lot of stuff like that. That I bet that working on a wrestling game, on an annual wrestling game, on an annual WWE game specifically, I bet is a nightmare. I bet working with WWE, as much as they're probably accommodating in some ways, just the nature of what that product is and how it spins and changes and all that stuff, I bet it just fucking sucks.
Oh, I believe that.
And having to crank that out every year, dude, come on. Yeah. Like, but still, like that's not me excusing like these bugs. Like obviously, like whatever. I'm on some level, it's probably good that Ukes got out of there. Maybe they'll go on because they were working on a separate a separate wrestling game. Which like that was part of the thing when they so it doesn't have a name, you know, there was I think that maybe was what got them in hot water or got them to split or if they split already.
Sure it did.
But it was like they gave an interview where they're like, we're working on another wrestling game, just an engine that we are working on off to the side that lets us try new things and do other stuff. And that was part of the interview where they said like, oh, you know, the WWE game is what it is and we have to do it every, you know. And I don't know what the exact situation is. I would love to know like when they parted ways, if it was before that interview or after, or what the deal was. But
that has nothing to do with the rumored AEW game.
No.
Totally separate.
I would like to think that AEW would not get Ukes involved. Well, maybe if they've got a strong pitch and a good engine, like maybe with time they could do something really powerful. Like I don't know. Like that's the thing is like when Ukes first got into making these specific games back PS1, PS2. They were awesome. They were very fast moving, like breath of fresh air, like good frame rate.
I'm really glad to hear that because every time I hear people crap all over Ukes, I feel like in the back of my mind somewhere, I'm like, wait a minute, didn't people used to really like
Ukes? Were like the saviors of wrestling, like wrestling games at that time. Okay. But that was confirmed. A long fucking time ago.
I loved Here Comes the Pain.
That's the game everyone cites as like the high point of that era of those games.
Also, they even had like memorable names back then.
Yeah,
instead of 2K whatever.
Right.
Oh, right.
Well, THQ at some point dropped it all too, because at one point you used to get different games per platform. Like the GameCube would get like Day of Reckoning, And the Xbox would get Raw, and then the SmackDown games were coming out on PlayStation platforms. And at some point, they were like, "Oh, people only like these PlayStation ones, really. So let's just do that one everywhere." And they just flattened it, and which is sensible, right? I mean, like why wouldn't you? But over time, that gets to be a pretty boring thing.
Sure.
I can't imagine what that must be like trying to make those games, especially if you like care about wrestling and video games. Yeah. Like if you somehow are cursed with caring about both those things and find yourself in this middle where you're like, oh yeah, I'm the guy. I'm in a position to fucking make change. Oh no, we have 3 months. Okay, all right. I guess. Okay.
Well, we'll keep doing this.
Let's just move this button to this button. We can do that, right? I don't know. Is that better? I don't even know anymore.
Guess I'm not going to sleep at home until next week.
It's just like working for the WWE that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of work-life balance and maximizing corporate profits,
yes.
Let's talk about a good video game.
Yeah.
I love it.
Which is The Outer Worlds.
I love it.
I want to talk.
I love it. I love The Outer Worlds.
I am kind of blown away by how much I love that game.
Yeah.
I don't want to denigrate that game or their marketing effort, but until they reached out and offered review code a week before last, I think it was.
Yeah.
I had completely forgotten that game was coming out.
Really?
Completely.
That was a game that was a high point for me back during Judges Week.
Yeah,
it was like that and Control were two games that, and like Doom were like, oh, these are the awesome games I saw that week. Like, I played the opening bits of that game. Like 40 minutes of it or so.
Sure. But I also got a demo that was pretty impressive of it at E3. It's not like we haven't seen it. I just, for whatever reason...
Outer Wilds kind of fucked things up.
That has not helped. That has not helped at all. Yeah. Especially because Outer Wilds came out on PS4 last week. So there's even a new
there was Outer Wilds news, and
there's a new release of that out there.
And aren't they both on Game Pass for free?
That is also the case.
Right.
It's a lot.
Outer Worlds is out on Friday, out this week.
Yes. Outer Worlds is not out yet.
Not out just yet.
On Friday. I love that game so much.
It's great.
It is so good.
It's fucking great,
Holy
man.
Holy shit, it's so good.
It is everything you want those games to be, unless you know, there are people that really want that sprawling Skyrim mess.
There are two things, if you love like the Bethesda style of RPG, that you're not going to get out of this. One gigantic map that it takes forever to cross.
Yeah.
Full of like autogen filler quests. And the ability to pick up everything you see with physics,
cups and garbage and whatever, like all that other stuff.
Those are like the two, to my mind, those are the two things you're not going to get from a Bethesda game.
And I think the game really benefits from focus.
I have come around on that.
You go from planet to planet, so that the zones themselves are not small and they're not linked together. You know, but the zones are not small. I mean, like Monarch is a large fucking land.
So I'm about to land on Monarch. I haven't gotten there. Is that the big one? I
have not gotten off Monarch yet. So that's the thing. Like this game seems like you could finish it in 20, 30 hours somewhere. But
this is a forum chatter, but it was based on things the developers have said.
Mahardy said 22 hours.
Okay, I think the developers is Obsidian. I think Obsidian has said if you really mainline the main quest, you can do it in like 15.
Sure, I believe
which I would believe, but there's a ton of stuff.
Yeah,
so
I'm doing second playthrough. He did it in like 6 hours.
Yeah, I would believe it if you knew what to do.
I'm doing every single side quest I can get my hands on. Like it's
all of like
fucking great.
I cannot think of a single piece of content, like a side quest or anything in this game, that I have felt like wasted my time, or wasn't meaningful or well written or interesting in some way.
Yeah,
like, and I'm at least 30 hours into this game. Like,
I'm
with you. I'm doing everything I come across.
Right.
Damn.
Because every named character that you talk to in this game is interesting. Like, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think of something. Yeah, maybe there's like one or two people that have like just a couple lines that are sort of whatever.
Some throwaway stuff here and there, like, you know, Catherine, the lady in the you haven't gotten there yet, but she's just a lady you get jobs from.
Oh, that's who I'm going to meet
she's
right now.
Somewhat interesting, but you know, you're really just going to her to turn shit in and pick up new shit. Yeah. But even her dialogue is like, it's flavorfully written.
Yes.
It's not,
everybody's got personality.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I think that they do a really good job of focusing that type of experience in without making it feel small. Mm-hmm. The only things I'll say is like I got all 6 companions.
Okay. I've got all
what
one.
felt like pretty fast. It was just like, oh shit, okay, am I almost done with this game? Is it almost over? But like, no, there was plenty more after.
They sort of dump a lot of them on you pretty quickly.
Yeah. And the combat is. I actually didn't mind this. So the combat, I think, is you get over the hump in this game, and the game gets surprisingly easy all of a sudden.
I've seen So you and Dan started playing the game before I did, and you both came back after the first weekend saying, like, this game's like a little too easy. And reviews came out this morning, and I've seen that echoed by a number of other people.
Yeah.
Because of all that, I started playing it on hard.
Yeah.
Which I think is, if you want this game to feel meaningful in terms of challenge, like that is totally the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Cool. I will be honest, it kind of sucks ass for the first 2 or 3 hours.
But I think like the first hour or so, like I was still dying in combat in those first areas too, because it's just you just don't have the gear.
Yeah. You've got no armor, no nothing.
Yeah.
But I mean, like literally, you find your ship. You walk down the road and there's like a couple of marauders there.
Yeah.
I died like 4 times on that first encounter.
Hard?
Two were all like they just melt your health. But like the game is, in terms of RPG mechanics, like skill points and the way you allocate perks and all that stuff, like it is so flexible that I have just spec'd in a direction that gives me a lot of sustainability in combat.
Right.
And it's like I'm not dying, but I can't take anything for granted now. It's playable now, but I'm having to really approach every encounter pretty thoughtfully. Like I spec toward like making my companions stronger and do more damage. Like there are some perks that I took for like, every kill gives you a little bit of health and a little bit of time slowdown potion back.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I'm having to pay a lot more attention to the combat is first person.
Yes.
It shoots a lot like a Bethesda game.
Yeah.
And you can slow down time at any point, but you've got a meter that runs out.
Yeah, instead of doing the VATS thing, the time dilation, you can highlight if you skilled up in a specific area. So if your ranged weapons are skilled up appropriately, aiming at a certain part of a body will do a different thing. Like aiming at a head will blind an enemy. Yeah, cool. You can stagger them. You can like that sort of thing.
So I'm having to rely on that stuff a lot.
So I'm barely even touching that.
So and I think that stuff is the best part of the combat. So that's why I think playing on a difficulty that demands you actually pay attention to that stuff is the way to go to make the combat more interesting.
The thing that happened for me in that game is it went from like feeling like, oh, I need to at least be a little careful out here, or I will if I fuck up, I'll die. Yeah. It went from that to like, oh, I'm just careless.
Yeah.
I got to a good workbench and tinkered up my armor to be higher stats and all that other stuff. I found some good stuff. And then I went and found the first science weapon.
Is that the shrink ray?
I went and found a sick ass hammer.
I just got that thing last night. Is it the one that changes element every time you swing it? Or is that a different hammer?
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe I'm
I think it's just a shock hammer. I think it's just shock. But you get it on the space station. Does it change?
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
You have to read like the logs in the terminal to see this guy falling in love with this hammer in a very erotic way.
Yeah, and then it killing him.
Yeah. And part of the log is him mentioning, I accidentally broke the manual control on it, so the only way to change the element type on it now is to swing it.
Okay.
So every time you swing it, it goes between kinetic, plasma, and shock damage.
Okay, because the icon on the menu is always shock, I think.
There's just a little bit of effect on the hammerhead.
Anyway, that
game
thing
is just like full of personality.
But like when I wind that thing up, when I cock it back and hold the trigger down to wind up a heavy hit, that thing's doing 1,000 points when I drop it down.
Jeez.
Even though it says it does 95 DPS, which is weird.
Well, I guess
it's a two-hand weapon, so it swings a little slower.
There's modifiers for everything. Like power hits do more damage. If you're coming out of stealth, you're getting a damage bonus. If you're hitting a weak point in time dilation. I
am just running up, holding down the right trigger, cocking that thing up, and fucking slamming like mega monsters, the one that you get a trophy for, and just like I'm like two-shotting those things.
Wow. Okay, so I fought my first couple of mega creatures last night, and it was like a full-on.
My first one was a problem.
Bare knuckle, like rough time.
The rest have not been.
Okay.
And my companions will go down because I have not been investing in them, and whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. I'm just, and I found plenty of ranged weapons that are doing almost as much damage, or at least in a DPS sense.
Are you playing mostly melee?
I'm using what I've got, you know. So in the early game, I was going really heavy on melee because ammo just seemed like it was at a premium. Like I was shooting through my ammo really quickly and just going like, well, I don't have any ammo for these guns anymore, so I need to get a good one-handed, two-hand.
Weird. I feel like I've got like hundreds of rounds of every.
Now
I
do. Now I'm just like fucking swimming in bullets at all times because I'm also using that hammer a lot of the time.
So are you not slowing down time as much?
I'm almost never.
So that's probably why, because like I'm having to. Yeah, on hard, I'm having to use the companion abilities a lot more, and like,
I'll use the companion abilities because why not?
Well, totally, but I mean, I'm having to do it because like, oh my god, this fucking thing is going to kill me in half a second if I don't mitigate with this dude's knockdown or something. But, but I'm also having to rely a lot more on the time slowdown weak point stuff, so it's a lot more targeted single shots and stuff like that.
That makes sense. Because I feel like, for me, it feels like I got over a hump because I went out of my way to find cool shit. Yeah. And so in world, it makes sense that I'm murdering all of this shit.
Like, it really lends itself to you, like, sort of organically just, like, stumbling into your preferred playstyle.
Yeah.
Because you're putting points into stuff that you like.
Yeah.
And you're just, like...
Well, I'm putting most of my points into the dialogue and hacking, because, like, that's my style with all these games, is I want to see the shit. I want to lie my way through things. I want to persuade people. I want to hack terminals. I want to, get doors open. Like that's how I always want to play these games.
That's part of what has impressed me so much about this game, though, is that every one of those categories you put points into has so many different effects on different aspects of the game.
Right.
Like, obviously dialogue skills are good for speech checks, but there are also combat abilities that will trigger if you have high dialogue skills.
Really? Yeah.
Conversely,
so if your lie is up or persuade or whatever it is, like, you will get enemies that will cower in fear.
Yeah.
When you hit them.
If you have the right dialogue skill high enough, like they'll freak out and run away from you.
Yeah. Which I wish there was I wish you went like, "Hey fucker," or just like, I wish there was some kind of bark.
That would be fantastic.
It's weird it's weird that when that procs,
you kind of
don't get a voice.
It's not super noticeable, but
just a really good one-liner.
But I was going to say, conversely, there are speech checks tied to basically every skill point or every skill category in the game. Like, I've seen speech checks tied to your two-handed melee skill.
Oh, weird.
Like, there's all kinds of shit in there.
Yeah.
And it feels like a true role-playing game in that way.
Yeah, and it's not like
stats and skills affect everything.
And I like stuff that, like, it was even just like you have additional insight. Like, some of it is like you are lying to get what you want, and you pass that speech check and whatever. But some of it is just like, if your intelligence skill is high enough, you can say, like, "Oh, you mean like this," and it'll change the dialogue. They're like, "Oh, you're not an idiot. Okay, I can talk to you like this."
Right.
And that, even that stuff, like, there's no that doesn't change from a gameplay sense, but it felt good to go, like, because I spec'd an intelligent character.
You've got very different options.
I've got some different options. So like, that's nice.
We did a quick look with a couple of developers last week in the office, and we made our character with their intelligence very low. That opens up a whole range of what they call dumb speech checks. Like, if you're a dumb character, you're just like this ridiculous oaf bumbling your way through every conversation.
Interesting.
But in a way that often, like, the speech checks make things happen.
Yeah.
Just in a very idiotic way.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There was another example of... Oh, I was gonna say, like, I've had characters react to the type of armor I was wearing, and have that change the course of a conversation.
Wow.
Because they thought I was they thought I was aligned with a certain faction because I was wearing like bad guy armor.
Yeah.
It feels so reactive like that.
I think that's the stuff you could probably do a little bit more of with a game that's a little smaller in scope, right? If you're trying to make this gigantic thing, at some point you have to...
I asked them about that in that video, and they said, it's like, I said, is it like a nightmare whiteboard of like this matrix of possibilities off of every situation? And they were like, it's actually about looking at what options anybody or person has at any given time and focusing on the things they're likely to do, and then you can kind of make it look like there are limitless options for stuff. I've seen so many people say, like, watch that video and some other footage and just say, oh, they made New Vegas 2. And I don't know. I still to this day have never played New Vegas, and that makes me feel like a real idiot for never playing it.
It's a great game. It's still a great game.
Yeah.
Like, you could, I'm sure that there are mods that, I'm sure that there are plenty of patches.
People
probably
works, it up,
probably works quite well now.
This game is, like, for me, has been remarkably bug-free.
Same here.
It runs totally fine on a PS4
We'll
Pro.
see once it gets out there and more people start playing it. But I've been playing PS4 also.
I haven't had a single, like, major glaring bug or
I have
crash.
not, same here.
But the reason I bring up New Vegas is I get the sense that this, like, extreme sense of reactivity and extreme sense of, like, choice in resolving major story problems, it sounds like, is a direct descendant of the way that game is built.
Yeah.
And that's so...
More or less. That's the stuff that they kind of doubled down on that Fallout 3 did as well.
Sure.
But New Vegas, I think... It's
like
the quality of the writing.
Took it much further, right?
Yeah.
And made it more interesting.
And more of that was about the quality of the writing, how much attention was paid to the writing that enabled those choices. Yeah. On the surface, you could look at it and go, this is kind of the same stuff Fallout 3 did. It's just they just did a little more with
it's like
those systems.
They fulfill the promise of how that stuff can work.
Yeah. New Vegas is really great.
It makes me really want to check that game out sometime.
I bet like, who has the time, right? But like, at the same time, I bet you would still have a plenty good time going back to New Vegas in this day and
believe
age.
it, especially seeing this. And, like, I bring it up just to contextualize how impressed I am with this game because, like, for me, it's kind of something I feel like I haven't seen before, but I'm guessing veterans of that game are going to recognize it more as like, oh, they did more of that.
Yeah, sure. Like, I played New Vegas, and I don't necessarily like, it's them making that style of game, but also like I would say just as much like, oh, it's them making a Fallout 4 style game. It's them making a Fallout 3, like that style of Bethesda game in a more general sense than specifically the New Vegas stuff. But yes, there's things about the depth that the writing will go, the depth that the dialogue choices can take you. That's the stuff that people liked about New Vegas.
Sure.
So sure, I get where they're coming from.
And I think maybe a big part of the reason a lot of the stuff sticks with me so much is because a lot of the major story beats can be resolved in so many different ways, and none of them have felt like the very obvious, like, here's the Paragon choice, here's the Renegade choice.
Yeah.
Like, it's all a series of trade-offs. It's like, oh, I want to help these people, but if I do that, then these other innocent people are going to get screwed over. So that's the thing. They get
right out of the gate with the first choice you make about like the Spacer's choice. Like you like, oh, do you want to help the factory town?
Yeah.
Or do you want to help the deserters that went off to go live off the land over here? Who only one gets power? Who do you choose? Like, it seems like a pretty obvious choice. You're like, well, the corporation fucking sucks.
Right.
Working in this awful factory is fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Like, fuck their power. Fuck them.
Right. But then like your companion Parvati, who is an awesome character.
She's great.
Who is a native of that town, like kind of quietly reminds you right before you like strike back at the man. She's like,
I was running in there going, fuck these people. And
and like at the last second, she's like, there's a lot of innocent people who are going to have their lives destroyed if you take power away from that town.
Like sure, the corporation might suck, but they just live there. And I listened to that and I was like, fuck them. They should go move in with the deserters because they'll figure it out. They'll fucking figure it out.
I ultimately made the same choice, and then I go back to town, and like the fucking lickspittle corporate boss is waiting for you with armed guards.
Yeah.
But I had a high enough speech ability that I told him to go fuck himself.
Yep.
And he was like, "Okay, I'll call off the guards. Just take what you want."
It was really good. Wow. It was really good.
So good.
But then you've got like people standing out in front of the factory where they're being barred entry.
Yes.
And they're just like, "What the fuck am I going to do now?"
And the armored like bruiser enforcer lady is like, she's like, "Don't worry, any interruption in labor will be deducted from your paychecks." Like, that's another thing that's so great about the game is that it takes place in this like grotesque, hyper-capitalist nightmare.
Modern day.
I mean, it is like,
it's.
I mean, it's in another solar system, and everybody who is there essentially indentured themselves to the local corporations to get there.
Yeah.
And it is to the extent that employees' only own bodies are considered company property.
Mm-hmm.
And like a suicide is considered damage to company property. And like next of kin has to pay reparations to the board. Like, it's wild. And like you get this great cross-section of like people who are very aware of how much it sucks, and they're like, fuck this. And then there's a bunch of people who are just like so deep in the cult they don't know any other way.
Yeah.
And then you see all these other people being like ground down, and it leads to so many great interactions and great decisions to make.
Like the main quest through Monarch deals with that stuff, I think, in a pretty interesting way too.
I figured it was going to go in that direction.
Like right now I'm at a point where I have to make a choice about who gets an item. That it's pretty similar to that early choice about like, okay, am I helping out the corporation or am I fucking them over? But like the people, the choices don't seem as cut and dry, as easy as you want them to be.
Like every single time,
and I think that's nice.
I've had to stop and really think, like, what do I want to do here?
Yeah,
and like
there was a quest. There's a quest I took on where you have to go. There's a scientist who wants you to recover his data, but also you're there with the express reason of like trying to find corporate secrets so you can sell them to someone else.
Yes, because you need a lot of money to pay to somebody for like some illicit nav data.
And so you go get the quest from this dude. He's like, go get my shit. Awesome. And then you get his shit and you're like, I'm not going back to that guy. I'm going to go fucking sell that shit.
Yeah.
And there's a whole separate category on the journal screen of quests that just says botched.
Yeah. Like you lose out on a bunch of quests.
But like I can still go back. Like there's still a point on there that says like, go back to that dude and tell him that you fucking fucked him over or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I didn't think to do it until I saw it on the list. I'm like, yeah, I should go talk to that guy because fuck that dude.
Was that the guy?
It was the diet toothpaste dude.
Oh, the main guy?
Yeah.
Okay. The other guy,
diet toothpaste, dude.
Yeah, they're making diet toothpaste.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. I need that.
One of the other scientists in that community, the guy making the aphrodisiac.
Yep. Yeah. I didn't have a high enough science.
I did. So when I found his experiment that he wanted you to finish and bring back in the lab, because I had a high enough science skill, I was able to basically double the output. Then I was able to sell it back to him and sell the other one to the lady.
Oh, nice.
It's awesome. Like,
How much of a factor do your companions play in things like that? Can they fill in holes? Like say
they have
speeches
their own quests.
Yeah,
and
they have quest lines.
They have so they'll be like, if you have the vicar in your party, he gives you like a +10 to hacking.
Okay.
So it's more that it enhances your
skills.
abilities.
Yeah, although
but they will pop up if dialogue is like relevant to them. Like there's the priest is he's a religious man of sorts. He's actually he's a fascinating
total
fucking character.
scumbag. All the characters
he did
interesting.
time. And so you go find this other like cult of religious dudes later, and if you have him in your party when you go, basically anytime they get up to fucking talking about their shit, he's just like, yeah, fuck these motherfuckers. It's just like really.
It actually pays. Yeah, it actually pays to think about which companions you take into which scenarios.
How many can you bring into?
Two.
Okay.
Of 6.
Yeah, there are 6 companions. Because in almost every situation, there's at least somebody on the crew who will have unique stuff to interject into.
And there's the companion, like the last companion I got, which ties into the area that I'm on right now. Like she is from there, and so everywhere you go with her in your party, she knows the lay of the land. She knows every single person. So just walking up with her, and I don't know if this is the case. Like I said, it's about feeling like you've got a lot of choices as opposed to actually putting infinite choice into the game. It feels like I'm bypassing a lot of like, who the fuck are you? Because she's there to vouch for me.
I had the exact same situation or experience on the space station. If you take Ellie, the pirate doctor, with you, because she knows everybody on the space station.
Okay,
so you get a lot of the same shit. It feels really cool that way.
Yeah, it's. I think that the things they've done to boil down that experience into something manageable and not as sprawling as the Bethesda games, I think has made it better.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But at the same time, I'm curious to see like, will people be able to mod this game? Like the Bethesda games are, like the reason they live forever is because of modders.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see if people could do something like that with this, but I don't know.
I've already seen some concerns in the community about that because it's exclusive to the Epic Store, which I guess makes the install somewhat open, and the Windows Store, which closes the install off completely. So I don't know how easy it is going to be to mod.
They have said that they're working to change the Windows Store stuff so that you are not getting those Windows 10 apps every single time.
I will say
I don't know what that means for this, but
not that people shouldn't try to mod it, but just out of the box in terms of like lack of bugs and general polish being high. And just generally not having a lot of complaints about the way it's designed. Like even if you're stuck with the vanilla experience, like it's been basically fantastic so far.
Yeah,
like,
I like it a lot.
Complaints.
I think my complaints would be like, maybe it's a little easy. I feel like there are you put points into stats like one-handed melee, two-handed melee, sneak, like that sort of stuff, and then there's a separate set of perks that'll be like oh, on kill you get 15% health back or stuff like that. I haven't found most of those perks to be useful. Like so I'm just getting stuff like, oh, I guess I'll have 50% more health. Because why not?
I mean, again, I would say again, that's largely where playing on hard
probably makes those choices.
Like when I saw that stuff and I was like, oh my god, you mean I can get 15% health back every time I kill an enemy? Like fucking give me that now, because I'm like barely making it through these fights.
And I took those because it was just like, okay, because the other ones didn't really seem like they would do much for me.
They don't fundamentally change the game. It's mostly just making things like easier or more.
There was one that's like you can fast travel when encumbered. There's one that raises your ability to carry stuff. I was like, oh, because I hate encumbrance in video games, I'm just going to get those, I guess.
I took the one that highlights anything you can interact with from farther away.
Yeah,
which is nice. I don't know how this has been for you. I saw somebody suggest this, and I haven't confirmed it, but it seems to be the case that I'm getting a lot more flaws playing on hard.
I've gotten plenty, and flaws. We should probably flaws. Like let's say you jump off a ledge and take leg damage over and over again. Eventually, it will pop up and say you've got a flaw. Like your legs are fucked.
Wow.
And that means that you will get -1 to these stats in exchange for getting an extra perk point, and you get to choose.
Yeah, you can
if you want, you can take that flaw on and take the negative stuff in exchange for a perk point, or you can say no, fuck that. And I've said no, fuck that every time because, like I said, the list of perks have not been that enticing to me.
I've taken 3 flaws because I need those perks badly.
And some of them would be like, when you're up high, your perception will go down, which I feel like they don't do a good job of spelling out what the flaws mean in gameplay terms every time. Yeah, because it just says like, in this situation, you'll be -1 to this, this, and this, and I'm like, I'm not quite sure because the things they list aren't necessarily the things you're directly putting points into.
Yeah, those are base attributes. Those can't be changed.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Those are you select those when you create your character, and then those are fixed.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because those are the base strength, dexterity, intelligence, perception.
Got it. So I probably need to go in and look at those and see what those are doing for me in their current form to see if I would care if I had a -1 there. Because I always looked at it and just went like, well, like I'm having trouble finding perks I like anyway, so why take on the flaws other than if you take on 3 flaws, there's a trophy for it.
I think it's, I got that. But I think it's like strength is like melee damage and how much you can carry. Sure. Dexterity is gunplay. Right. Stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's the basic stuff. Some of the ones I've gotten have been like very obvious, like, hey, you take 25% more in-ray damage, which is like radiation damage.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
But then I got one that's like, oh, you have -1 to these stats when you're fighting primals, which are like a kind of an ape type enemy. And like I was like, is that all the time or only when they hit me or what's going on? Yeah,
what happened to you in your life that when you're fighting apes?
I fought a lot of apes and they were not nice to me. And I became a pithecophobe, I think is the term.
All right.
I might be wrong.
It's a neat system.
It's cool.
I just wish that
it's nice that it's optional.
I wish that I was getting more out of the perk system because I would engage with that system a lot more if I felt like the benefit was worth it.
I really do think the difficulty makes the meaningful difference there.
Yeah,
if people want.
Sounds exactly like a play on hard sort of thing.
The last thing I was going to say about the choice, and the developers told me this in the video, I didn't even know until we did that quick look last week, although it's kind of obvious in retrospect, is the setup is you were a colonist on this ship full of, it's like 100,000 colonists on a interstellar voyage.
Frozen to travel.
Yeah, and something happened to the ship and it fell out of faster than light travel. And the corporate board just decided, it's not worth, like, it's not profitable to go retrieve this 100,000 strong group of colonists. We're just going to let that ship drift forever in interstellar space.
And then the story is they're just like, we don't know where it went. Like they just kind of
it's become like a myth or whatever. And then this like mad scientist figure, this very vaudevillian kind of like crazy haired Doc Brown kind of guy.
Yeah.
Shows up and busts you out of there, and that's your character. Also, like
that's why you create a character because you don't know who he's busting out until you're like, it's a lady, it's a guy.
Also, I thought it was. I mentioned this in the video we did. Like, I feel like it really ties into the kind of hyper consumerist bent of the game that the character creation process is literally like selecting a person, like plucking somebody off the shelf and buying them. But anyway, I bring that up because like, within like the first hour of the game, you can totally betray that scientist.
Like he is a highly wanted criminal.
Yeah.
And there are moments across that entire game where people are just like, oh, do you know where?
Like his wanted poster is all across the system, and
you can sell him out like that if you want to.
The very first local constable that you run into, one of the dialogue options is just, I know where Phineas Wells is. Do you want to find him?
Yeah,
I
kind of want to sell him out. Like I'm not going to do it this playthrough, but it was like seeing it in the early game. I was like, oh, I bet that's very different.
They said, if you portray him inside with the board, like it's a pretty different game after that.
Yeah.
Like I totally want to play this game again to see how that stuff goes.
Yeah. That's interesting. But also, like, I wonder what that would mean because he's got a ship and there's a science weapon on his ship. Yeah. If you turn him in the first 5 minutes, would you be able to still go get it?
Right.
Does it lock you out of that stuff?
Like, I want to see how different a lot of that stuff is.
It's a really good game.
They said they tested it a lot by doing a lot of the story stuff out of order.
Oh.
So maybe that stuff becomes more possible if you side with the corpse. I don't know.
That might make sense.
Yeah. It's like this mashup of Fallout and Mass Effect and it's very funny.
Yeah.
That I just like the companion selection screen literally looks like a Mass Effect screenshot.
Oh, really?
Like it's the exact same interface.
You're right.
Exact same interface.
Yeah, you're right. It is. Huh?
Right,
it super is, isn't it?
It's 6 people standing there in whatever space armor you've put them in, doing their idle animation while you pick which 2 you want to take with you.
Weird.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And you even trigger their abilities while you slow down time with the left and right on the D-pad.
Weird. Yeah.
And you're in a ship. And you've got a ship.
I do what I can to not think about Mass Effect these days because it's just too sad.
But I mean, your ship is basically the Normandy. Like you walk around in it between locations that you fly to, you talk to your crew there, you decorate it. Like the ship AI is a total goofball.
Can you do your crew?
I don't believe there's any romance options.
Really?
But I don't feel like it needs that.
Okay.
Like, I'm kind of glad it doesn't have that because, again, I feel like it benefits from the focus that it
Like
has.
the crew will get in. There are romance things that happen with certain crew members anyway.
Sure. One of your crew members being totally sweet on a story character is like a major side companion quest line.
But like all the companions do have their own quests and stuff. So
are they like loyalty quests? You get something
practically. I don't know that you'll get anything for completing them other than the trophy, but I haven't actually
like experience points.
I haven't gone all the way down the line with anyone yet.
Quests are the fastest way to level. Like XP comes pretty slowly unless you do quests.
I don't know, man. You got that big hammer and you're surrounded by all these manta queens and stuff. Totally. Like you fucking you get your level on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sit here and gush about this game all day. The last thing I just want to say is that I think it's like amazingly funny in a lot of spots.
I like it a lot
for how hard that is to do in a lot of games.
Yeah, it's
got a very dry sense of humor.
It does,
and that really appeals to me.
And I think some people will come away from it thinking like, or with the feeling of like, a lot of games have done the check out our funny, like, oh, the corporation sure is soulless. Like that's the joke over and over again. Yeah. And so I think there's been a lot of that. Warranted.
I feel warranted. Totally. But I feel like this game handles it.
I think they do it really well.
They handle it very deftly.
But at the same time, I feel like there have been a lot of games that have done that lately, and I think that can kind of dampen it. Ever so slightly.
You could even say the same thing about all the visual design. It's very it's just very early 20th century. A lot of corporate advertisements, Brillo cream. And,
right. Yeah. And that feels those feel like the things that are
quasi steampunk type stuff,
where they found something that was analogous to what Fallout did. In a lot of ways, where they're like, oh, instead of this like kind of very 50s thing, like with the music and everything, we're going to go, actually going to kind of just do that.
Right.
So there's a little bit of that in there,
It
too.
looks a lot like a Fallout or a BioShock or that sort of thing. But like, I feel like it's more interesting than most of those games. Even though that stuff has been done so much, I feel like this game is...
And the space travel stuff is, pretty different than what you're doing in a Fallout game. It's not about the apocalypse and bottle caps and all that shit. It's, a different kind of apocalypse.
Yeah.
How's it running on a... You guys are playing it on a Pro?
Yes, PS4 Pro.
It's like a locked 30.
Yeah,
okay.
It's fine.
I think they said...
Curious how it'll be on a base Pro. Or a base PS4.
I don't know about that, or a base Xbox.
I wonder,
it's Unreal Engine, and like that tends to perform pretty well, so I would guess it's probably okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
This is coming out to PC as well.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass.
And it's on Game Pass.
Oh,
which is fucking crazy.
It's
got to get an Xbox.
It's on Epic Store, or it's on... it's on PC. I believe it's Xbox or Windows Store on PC. You can play it on Game Pass.
That's usually they have a separate app for Game Pass that you download on PC to do that stuff. Yeah.
Exciting. I can't recommend it enough if you like that kind of first-person RPG.
Yeah, it's very well made.
Yes.
I've been having a great time with it.
Yep.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to finishing it.
Yep.
It's really good.
And then like diving back into it because you want to see.
Yeah.
Like,
I never.
Yeah, we'll see. By the time I finish
out.
the game, I may very well be like, oh, all these other games came out.
It's the kind of thing that,
but like right now, I can tell you, like, man, I would really like to know at least like what happens if you take that early step.
I think it's the kind of thing where like maybe in January I'll come back and like download the PC version. Through Game Pass and do a shitty asshole playthrough that way and see what it's like to betray that dude and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
It has come out. It has come out of nowhere and just like blown me away. I'm just having so much fun with it.
Yeah, I remember seeing the trailers for it when it was first announced and just kind of like mentally passing on it. Like, they're poking fun at corporations, edgy. I don't know if I want to play this.
It's all done very well.
Good. Yeah. Good to know.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk about one game.
Yeah, that's good though. Like,
totally. But why don't we take a quick break then and cool our jets, and then come back and talk about some more stuff.
Websites. No matter how you say websites, it's time to think about them by turning your dream into reality and using Squarespace to realize that reality. Turning it from dream form into real form with Squarespace, who makes it easier than ever to launch your passion project on a website. Get on the web. Make it happen. Start a new business. Showcase your work, whatever you're doing. Are you publishing content? Of course you are. Who isn't? But you need a website. Squarespace will help you get that website because Squarespace is the tool for you. With beautiful templates created by world-class designers and the ability to customize just about anything with a few clicks, you can easily make a beautiful website all by yourself. And if you're looking to sell stuff, Squarespace has powerful e-commerce functionality built right in, baked on in. Plus, analytics. You can look at the numbers, see how it's growing, and see how it's going. Everything's optimized for mobile right out of the box. You don't have to patch or upgrade anything ever. They handle all that tech stuff on their end. You just worry about getting that content out there and making it beautiful with their awesome templates. You can even buy a domain. They make it simple. And you'll get the help that you need with Squarespace's 24/7 award-winning customer support, because Squarespace empowers millions of people. People who needed websites, and now they've got them. People that are designers, lawyers, artists, restaurateurs, gymnasts, whatever you're doing out there, odds are you could do it better on the web. Head over to squarespace.com/bombcast for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the offer code BOMBCAST to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/bombcast, and the offer code is BOMBCAST.
Okay, Jan, do you mean to tell me that it's possible to be a fan of both Pokemon and Digimon?
What?
At the same time?
I'm here to say this is just like the Wednesday night wars of the 90s. Mm-hmm. You could be a fan of WCW and the WWF at the time.
Okay.
So, Digital Monsters,
Wednesday Wars.
a little different than Pocket Monsters.
Mm-hmm. Both monsters.
Yes. Both monsters, both lovable companions. Digimon, though, actually speak your language. They won't repeat their name.
So you're saying Digimon should talk?
Digimon can talk, should talk, and will talk.
Okay.
Should talk.
I'm out.
That's a
I'm
bold
out.
stance.
No, thank you.
Well, what if I told you guys there's a bunch of crimes that we have to solve with our digital monsters?
I'd solve a crime with you. Sure.
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah?
I like analog monsters. There's a warmth there. You just don't get the digital monsters.
Right, there's
it's
that
so
nice
cold. Zeros and ones. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
You know?
What if I told you, if you're just looking at these digital monsters, you don't have to throw a ball to capture them. You just collect their data, and then you could rebuild your own.
I love data.
Yeah?
I would download a monster.
You wouldn't steal
I would download
a Digimon,
I would
would
download
you?
it. I would absolutely, yes.
What if
I'm
you
gonna
had
torrent a
scintillating
Digimon.
names of monsters? Like one that looks like a worm,
Okay.
but it's called Wormmon.
Is it like a Rasta? Hang on.
You know, now I'm disappointed that there's like not that many Rasta-themed Digimon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I download like a cracked version of the Digimon? Can I get like
It might be evil.
Can I get onto like E-Donkey?
Yeah. Can I get the Fairlight release of the Digimon?
Yeah.
There is a donkey type Digimon that you could
Like
get.
an E-Mule, like install a waste instance and transmit Digimon
I'm going to say
over
yes.
waste.
But a requirement is you guys have to be wearing goggles the whole time.
Fucking great. All right.
Yeah.
I'm totally
So-
in. I've been meaning to live the goggles lifestyle for decades now, and finally I have an
yes.
excuse.
Thank you. Okay. Digimon Cyber Sleuth Complete Edition came out last Friday. I think it leans into what Digimon's strengths are versus the Pokemon games, where the Digimon anime has kind of like been very story heavy, and like here you're going to get like a real story coming to age of dealing with growing up and shit like that in the digital world.
Whoa.
Versus Pokemon, where it's like a 10-year-old's like, I'm going to fight everyone and lose.
Okay, so Pokemon prepubescent.
Yes.
Digimon very pubescent.
Yes. It's
Okay.
like
Digimon's
Really?
not fucking around. Digimon's for me, man.
it's punk, you know?
Pokemon, that's kid stuff.
Yeah, fuck. I can't say it. Yeah. Anyway, so the Cyber Sleuth series, it's the complete edition. Has both the first release and Hacker, the sequel to it. And I wasn't
Are
expecting
these remasters of previous games? Are these brand new?
re-releases
Okay, all right.
of the two previous games. Now
Got
just
it.
one collection.
Got it.
And it doesn't run the best, unfortunately.
Oh,
I'm playing it on the Switch.
well, there you go.
Well, it could be that, but these games originally came out on the Vita too, and I've seen videos of that running completely fine.
Vita
But-
2.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Vita 2.
Wow.
Secret. You have to download that one.
You
Also.
have a Vita too?
Yeah, I know.
Guys, got to keep on the hush hush.
Wow.
It's got two screens. It's fucked up.
Strap it to your face.
But it's neat because it's pretty much just a visual novel with little bouts of combat in between.
What's the combat like?
Combat, it's so instead of doing 1v1 like how you would in a Pokemon game, you have a team of 3v3. And that kind of introduces some nice dynamics of having to shuffle around which attack will target all 3 enemies, or one is kind of like you're like a mage, so it'd be boosting up the stats and playing healer.
It's advanced. In that Pokemon game, you can only do 1-on-1.
Yeah.
So occasionally like a 2-on-1, right?
Occasionally a 2v2.
2v2.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And the neat thing here is as you're going into random encounters with other Digimon, you don't necessarily have to capture them. You're just scanning them. So the more you run into a specific Digimon, you're just acquiring its data, and then you can go to like a little center in the area to replicate that Digimon. So whatever you wind up coming across, whether it's a named enemy or like an instance enemy, like a boss character, you are eventually accumulating enough data to recreate it later.
And do you need like parts to recreate it? Do you
No.
need like resins and metals and no, okay, all right.
Yeah. So if you get it at a Digimon at its base level, you can slap that bad boy into your party, level it up, Digivolve from there. The messed up part though is that you can recreate Digimon to feed to your existing Digimon to like level your existing dudes up.
Sexy.
Yeah.
That's just like you're appending it to the end. You're just using there's like you would join 2 MP4s together.
Exactly.
You're just joining. It's just Digimon joiner.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it doesn't even rewrite.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to rewrite.
No.
Wow.
No,
Yeah, it's
no
just like
re-encode.
re-encoding, connecting 2 MP4s is just like DNA digivolving. That's how you
like
get
a-
Omnimon.
A Digiportmanto.
Oh, boy.
So I wish you could fast forward through
Brad is on fire today.
The bummer part is that since it is a remaster, there's still a couple things I wish they could have added or fixed. Since it's
Like
they've
Pokemon.
re-released it
You wish
again.
they could have added Pokemon.
Dude, just add a Pikachu in there, boy.
What if you had Pokemon versus Digimon? Who the fuck would win?
When is that
Who
going
the
to
fuck would
happen?
win?
That's gotta happen at
Who
some
do we
point.
have to call? Who do we have to call to get this to happen?
I
John
tell you
Vignacchi.
first because I don't know anybody else.
But the bummer part for me is that the game really, really relies on these story elements, but I'm not too interested in the story elements. I just wish they had like
You're more of a Beyblade guy, I know.
I'm more of a Beyblade guy. Yeah, just like grip it, let it rip.
Yep.
Yep.
You're just here to mon.
Yep. Just here to mon. I'm just here to fight, and they won't let me fight. I just wish the game had the option to like fast forward through cutscenes to get to the I don't know.
They don't let you do that in
No.
a visual novel?
In a
Wow.
visual novel.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive.
And it's fairly linear. Like you are solving crimes, but you're really just looking for the NPC that has the glowing exclamation mark and it's like, okay, I got to talk to you.
Sorry, he stole that glowing exclamation mark. That's a crime.
And we've solved it.
Great. You're going to Digijail.
Yeah. So the second game that's part of the collection.
When they commit crimes, what do you do with them? Do you turn them? Do they get digitized onto the game grid and fucking derez? Like what do you do?
It's like a mashup of Tron and Ready Player One.
Great. Oh,
Yeah.
you had me and you lost me. But all right.
And reboot?
Okay, I'm back in.
man.
I'm back in.
All right.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Sure.
The second game that's technically a sequel is a side story to the first game, just stuff going on in the background. It's neat, but I don't know if I'll stick with it all the way. You can get up, the game does have upwards to like 400 Digimon, so that's neat, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Are there Digimon that look like mummies or pharaohs? Or,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one that looks like an angel that's called Angemon.
Angemon. I've heard of that.
And there's
one.
another one that looks like a lady angel called Angewomon.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
No?
no.
Okay. All right.
I don't know.
There's
Whoa,
one that's like an
man.
imp. That's Impmon.
I don't know. All
Yes.
the Digimon are named bad, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
One that really like is violent. He's called War Greymon.
Why gray?
I don't know the
You know-
gray part, but the war is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, sure.
He has a evil Digivolution where he's like all skulls. Guess what he's
Great.
called?
Skullmon.
Skull War Greymon. Yeah.
Right.
Got it.
I should have got that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it makes sense to keep your files named in a way that is like from a distance. When you're looking at the directory later, you can still identify
Yeah.
what is what. Like,
wanna-
this
totally.
is the one with skulls.
You want
Yeah.
a hierarchy.
Yeah, skull war greymon dash final dot final space really final dot psd.
that is very
there's-
close to an actual file you come across in the game.
That's our episode title, by the way.
Great.
Have to write that one down for me.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to know that you're an equal opportunity tiny monster battler.
I want to give all mods a chance. Also,
Yeah.
there's another
What about the
game.
Monchichis? That means happiness.
We don't talk about
Mon.
them.
No? All right.
Amon.
Yeah.
There's another
Monchichi.
pocket monster game that's not Pokemon that's come out. I think it's called Disc Monsters. It looks like a complete throwback to the original Red and Blue.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of doing 1v1, it's 3v3 right out the
Trios,
gate.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know.
Whatever happened to Monster Rancher?
Yeah.
when
They're
is
bringing it
that-
back. They actually...
when is that going to get its
Earlier
due?
this year, they said, "Hey, we're going to do a new or remaster Monster Rancher."
Okay.
Which is weird because like that whole thing was based on CDs.
Right.
Yeah.
Monster Rancher was a great idea.
Maybe you
That
could
was
just
not
feed your
always a great game.
Spotify.
Feed your MP3s
Yeah.
into it. Or, give it a Spotify
You
playlist.
can hook up to your Last FM profile a fine CBS property,
Yes.
and it'll tell you that you have been listening to bad music for far too long.
Right.
And then create the worst
in
monster
the
out
form
of
of monsters.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Disc Creatures is what the second game
Oh, I
was.
see. Creatures, not
Yes.
monsters.
Yeah.
Totally and completely separate.
Very
Oh,
different.
Yes.
Discree.
No infringement
Yeah, yeah.
here.
The DC Universe. Yep, that's what they're calling it.
Yeah.
I like it. Catchy.
Um,
Is there a Super Mon?
They have attached super to Digimon names.
Are there
before.
bat monsters in the Digimon world, and is it called Batmon?
Okay.
Yep.
I might be in.
There's one that looks like a devil called Beelzebubmon.
Are you serious?
that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. There's one that's a giant lion. Guess what it's called?
Couldn't possibly guess.
Leomon.
Whoa.
He's a badass
You
though.
threw
He,
me
like,
for a loop there.
he
yeah.
saved the Digidestin at first. It was like,
Wow.
yo,
We need to
Nice.
stop him from making these up.
Okay.
send in a
Yeah.
quiz.
He has to be making them up.
Yep. Shall we move into the news?
Yeah.
I was about to, based on that conversation, I was about to start sitting here talking about pun quest names from Outer Worlds that I think are really funny. So instead of that, why don't we move into the news?
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't even been paying attention to quest
Oh my God,
names.
they're so good.
Okay, yeah.
should go look at your quest log.
them. I'll look at them. I've just been like,
I picked up a quest for the quote unquote salvager company / pirate company faction
yeah,
last night called Space Crime Continuum.
that's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's a good time. Let's move into the news, shall we?
Yes.
This Blizzard thing just keeps going. Now Congress has gotten involved.
Well, now you know nothing's going to change because the government's gotten involved.
Yeah.
Bipartisan letter.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I want to make sure I got the day right. I believe it was Friday. It was October 18th, which I'm pretty sure was Friday.
Yeah, that sounds right.
A joint letter was issued from Senators Ron Wyden and Marco Rubio,
Both sides
and
holding hands.
and Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Mike Gallagher, and Tom Malinowski, taking address directly to Robert A. Kotick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dear Mr. Moneyball.
Yeah.
If they can do it, Digimon and Pokemon can do it.
Yep. That's right.
Damn.
Yeah. Also nice to see that Marco Rubio discovered he still has principles in any fashion whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, they are taking Robert A. Kotick, Chief Executive Officer of Activision Blizzard, pretty harshly to task over the decisions they made around punishing the Hearthstone pro player Blitzchung for coming out in support of Hong Kong protesters.
Yeah, but I feel like the thing about that letter that stuck out to me was that it felt like it was drafted before the ban change, which is like a minor point,
Yeah.
right? But so it is saying like, hey, you should give that guy his prize money. It's troubling, or it's troubling that you chose not to give him his prize money, and so on. Basically, like from the initial thing that Blizzard did.
Yeah, I think the language is a little more general than that. I'll just read the first paragraph. We write to express our deep concern about Activision Blizzard's decision to make player Ing-Wai Chung forfeit prize money and ban him from participating in tournaments for a year after he voiced support for pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. This decision is particularly concerning in light of the Chinese government's growing appetite for pressuring American businesses to help stifle free speech. If you're gonna tell me that some congressional aides are not fully up to date on the events of like the games industry, I totally believe it.
Absolutely. But I think the thing it does is it leaves Activision some wiggle room here where they can say like, oh, we already fixed it. We went back on that.
But they
It's a shorter ban.
I think the
it's a
point
shorter ban. It's all good now, right?
And he's got his
Bobby
money
Kotick.
coming.
It's fine.
The point of highlighting the initial decision is to say this is the decision you made. Like it doesn't
fair
matter.
enough. It doesn't matter that they quote unquote fixed it.
Yeah,
which
first
they
of all,
didn't. They didn't.
Yeah, first of all, you haven't rectified it. But even A or B, even if you had, like, you made this decision, you kowtowed to an authoritarian regime in the first place, and that's just indefensible.
Sure.
They go on to mention the stuff that's been going on with Apple and the NBA.
So Apple got a similar letter, and almost exactly the same letter about that HK. Was it HK Maps Live? Is that what it's called?
I'm not sure what the app is called.
But it was
they pull the app.
They pulled the app. They initially, at first, they did not pull the app, and then after a chunk of time, they pulled it, citing security concerns that people were using the app to figure out where the cops were, and then go where the cops weren't and cause trouble. Which the app was specifically being used by people trying to stay safe during the protests, and seemed like a thing that was good for safety. Apple said maybe it was bad for safety, to which the people making the app and people using the app were like, "You've just been bamboozled, if that's what you truly believe." So
it's probably not. They probably know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, the NBA has not taken any action. Is that right? I'm still not 100% sure how that played out.
I don't believe they've taken any action other than just like kind of squashing further discussion of it.
But I mean, against was it a general manager?
Yeah,
I think.
I think they in fact said like, oh, that's fine if he wants to say it.
But he hasn't been punished or anything.
Yeah,
right?
I don't believe so. At least not in an overt way.
Okay,
I don't know. Basketball.
Yeah. The last paragraph reads, as China amplifies its campaign of intimidation, you and your company must decide whether to look beyond the bottom line and promote American values like freedom of speech and thought, or to give in to Beijing's demands in order to preserve market access. We urge you in the strongest terms to reconsider your decision with respect to Mr. Chung. You have the opportunity to reverse course. We urge you to take it.
So that's the thing, is I feel like, they could say, hey, we reversed course. We decided to. I think that would be a very thin fucking platform to stand on.
Yeah. I don't think they truly have, unless
when you've got the government only barely paying attention to these things, for a moment here, that who knows if that would be enough to just like stave this off, right?
Yeah. Also, I feel like implicit in that wording is like, we strongly urge you to make sure you don't do this again. Like,
sure,
consider your future actions.
Which they then did do it sort of again, with that college team.
Yes, so that happened a couple days before this letter went out. Yeah. But I mentioned as part of the fallout last week from this initial ban that there was another American Hearthstone pro team who was kind of doing the same stuff. They have now also been banned for 6 months.
Okay.
It initially seemed like they were not going to be punished, or at least Blizzard had its hands too full to do anything about it at the time. They were the ones I mentioned that held up
a sign
that says "Free Hong Kong, Boycott Blizz."
Boycott Blizz. That's important to note, actually.
On a stream.
Yeah, all the headlines that I wrote left that part out. And
that was what they did.
Yeah.
Apparently, I missed this. When Blizzard failed to punish them in a timely fashion, they voluntarily dropped out of Pro Hearthstone.
I was going to say, they should probably.
But then Blizzard followed up with that and officially also banned them for 6 months,
which they seemed to be more than fine with.
Right.
Yep. So yeah, I don't know. I'm certainly no First Amendment lawyer or anything. I don't know where like the threat of government regulation overlaps with some kind of free speech interpretation here,
right? And is it a free speech thing if you are on a company's, the same way that people get banned from a message board because it's not a First Amendment issue?
Oh, well, I'm talking about what Congress said to Blizzard with respect to quote unquote Blizzard's free speech.
I see.
As a form of conducting business.
Right. Okay. I get you.
That's what I mean. I'm trying to suss out what the potential for actual regulation is here. I don't know if there is any.
Yeah, like I don't know
if this is an empty threat or not.
That regulation comes in the form of like a harsher trade embargo with China that prevents companies from doing business there, right?
Sure. Yeah.
It's been interesting, in the wake of all this stuff happening, there were like quotes from Zuckerberg out there saying like, oh, we could have made way more money if we'd gotten into China, but we didn't, and now trying to spin that as like, we would have had to compromise a lot about our openness to do this.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Like, okay, dude. All right, man. Fucking brisket indeed.
Yeah. Facebook's got its own basket of issues to deal with.
Any response from Blizzard in regard to this?
No,
None.
Not that I've seen. Not so far. But hey, BlizzCon is a week and a half away.
Right, yeah, that could be a
The whole
major
opening ceremony will
talking
be
point, right?
Next Friday.
I'm sure they'll get right
sure
out
they
ahead
will.
of it. And
I mean, they have to say something, right? Like,
do they? I think if they
can you
are,
imagine if they just come out and don't even
they-
address it at all?
what if they just up security to prevent people from getting into the venue with protester signs and try to present it like nothing's going on?
Fucking gross.
And just try to ride it out.
So exactly like WWE.
Exactly, yeah. No AEW signs.
Jesus.
I don't know. I feel like there is such a groundswell of outrage over this that, like,
I agree.
even the regular BlizzCon attender who's not going to carry a sign into the auditorium is still potentially ready to heckle the stage.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
If they go bad on this.
But I think then you also look at like last year's BlizzCon putting some blood in the water in terms of like people are not happy with Blizzard. And this becomes even if they aren't necessarily like a firm believer in this cause, it then becomes an additional cudgel for people who don't like Blizzard. Which take it or leave it. But like I think the cause is more worthy than that.
Yes.
But yeah. When you think about the reaction to people at BlizzCon last year, there may be some people that just like try to bandwagon on top of this.
Yeah. There's probably some element of that already.
Yeah.
It's just that in this case, like, their actions are actually...
Like, I'm curious, like, like removed from this stuff, I was already wondering, like, okay, we're going to get to BlizzCon and they're going to like show Diablo 4. Are people going to be just fucking like, all is forgiven, yay? Or are they going to be like, no, you still fucked up last year. We'll believe it when we see it. This sort of stuff. Like how long is the memory on that stuff?
I don't think it's very long. I think
like
if they do get out there and say, here's Overwatch 2, here's Diablo 4.
Like if they have a playable Diablo 4 demo on the floor that people like, I'm sure that the mobile stuff just quietly gets forgotten.
Yeah. But then
this political stuff is
you
much
layer
worse.
this on top of it, which that is obviously its own beast. But I'm trying to like take it with like, okay, how do people on the internet operate? It's like, okay, they just find something they can like work into their existing anger and say, and you also did this, and some people will presumably do that.
Yeah. I'm sure there's also a segment of the audience like the people that stand up and shout for the Horde to this day at BlizzCon. Like if they get the games they want, that's probably all they care about. Like,
you're probably right.
I'm sure there is a diehard fan portion of the audience that just wants games.
I'm curious. It's hard to imagine a scenario where they stand on a stage and address this situation at all.
Right. I get,
maybe they issue a statement to the press around this time or something to kind of quell that end of things. But like on site, unless the scene on site is ugly, there's no reason for them to bring it back up. Well, in what they view as like a celebration of our commercial products that we love to sell to you because we love you. I mean, keep buying them.
There are those protest groups organizing already to be there, but who knows like, how close they'll be able to get to the auditorium.
Like how many of them have passes?
Outside it's probably going to be a madhouse. But the paying customers, the people that paid, how many hundreds?
Are people going to pay to go to BlizzCon just
to protest and heckle or what?
I don't know.
I don't see it.
So that's why I say like maybe the scene inside will be such that they can get away with it.
Yeah.
Which would be a shame. I think that they should be further held to task for this stuff.
Right.
Totally.
Even if it's hard for me, like the government involvement, it's hard to view that as like where does that actually go though? Like you said, how does that turn into anything actionable on the government's part other than a growing trend that has been happening for years and years and years, that because of the events in Hong Kong are now getting a brighter spotlight shown on them of just like, hey, all these companies that really wanted to make a lot of money in China have now built a lot of their business around that money coming in from China and are now reliant on it to a certain extent. Yeah. And so when you put that pressure on them to cut that money out, they go like, and it would take the government saying like, you are no longer allowed to do business in China if you're an American company, I think, to really change that, right? Which that seems like a very drastic step in a trade war that has been fucking a bungled mess for some. It's just So I don't know what the next step of this would be. Like, I don't know how serious the government could get without turning this into something way, way, way larger than they're probably willing to do at this point.
Yeah, you're probably right. Well, from the sound of leaks that keep coming out, it seems like Blizzard will have plenty to talk about at BlizzCon that is not this ongoing situation. A print ad appeared in a German magazine, basically leaking the existence of Diablo 4 by using the phrase Diablo 4 with a Roman numeral. It's an ad for an art book.
Yeah.
But the ad flat out says it contains artwork from Diablo, Diablo 2, Diablo 3, and Diablo 4 with a Roman numeral.
It's a lot of Roman numerals.
I mean, it's hardly the first time that Diablo 4 has been rumored to exist.
Yeah. It lines up.
Yeah. I mean, it's all but...
They did a Diablo 3.
Yeah.
You could see them maybe someday doing a Diablo 4.
But also, after what happened last year, even if no project called Diablo 4 existed last year, you could see them scrambling to get it.
Well, all the stuff last year is
announce.
that they had that cutscene almost ready to go and then pulled it because they just didn't feel good about it or whatever. But
is probably the least surprising leak.
And I wonder with another...
Now they're coming into this one with a much brighter attitude.
Yeah. So I wonder, you've got another...
Positive outlook.
Another year of work on it. You've got an art book that features some elements of the game already being advertised. Mm-hmm. How far off is Diablo 4?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a next year game.
Oh, I would have definitely assumed it's a next year game. It's just a matter of like, is it early next year or late next year?
Yeah.
Maybe mid next year. Who can say? I don't know. Yeah.
Weren't there? I should have gone back and looked at some of the reporting around BlizzCon last year. Weren't there some suggestions that they were exploring making it a different kind of game, like a first-person game, or maybe something with a different perspective, or something that was
I think some of the reporting
from,
around there was that they were looking to do.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, Hellgate London,
right? Who knows what form this is going to take? There's a Twitch streamer named Metro who apparently has had some like very specific, reliable Blizzard leaks in the past.
Okay.
Who got out there and said that Diablo 4 and also a remaster of Diablo 2 will be announced. Like, there have been job listings and stuff implying that Diablo 2 remaster for ages. Like, that's not surprising either. But this person also got out there and said Overwatch 2 will be most likely revealed there. Had some fairly specific info about that.
That stuff's been bumping around a little bit lately, too.
Kotaku has reported some similar details that there will be a like PvE mode in this, as well as a traditional versus.
I think that's a smart addition.
Even if it's something like a horde mode type thing, like that's not the worst idea in the world. The streamer also talked like there will be a new character leveling system, which is also not super surprising. I mean, that's just kind of how these things work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how these games go.
I think PvE could be, maybe that's a horde mode, or maybe that's like some kind of, like, if you think about it, like they created these characters in this universe and like people want more story out of it. But all the story has been largely out of game.
Yeah.
You know, it's been like the TF2 situation of just like, here are these videos we made.
Yeah.
And so now they've fleshed that shit out to the point where it's like, oh, we should actually put some real story into the video game.
Yeah.
And a PvE mode, like a campaign even would do that.
Yeah.
In a way, a horde mode or something like that would not. So maybe they're like, we don't need Destiny anymore because we're about to turn Overwatch into it.
Right. Yeah.
Who knows?
Entirely possible. Or Diablo. Or both.
Do you think any of these announcements gets much traction, though? I mean, just given just the state of the internet right now and just how angry people are.
Again, I think there are people who just want to play games and don't care about what their favorite companies do behind the scenes who will probably be stoked about these games.
There are plenty of people who don't follow games, all that closely that have not even heard of any of this China stuff.
Yeah, they're probably not on Twitter.
Yeah. So that game will come out and it'll do fine.
Okay.
The only other detail I've got here is that the Metro gave an example of how the character leveling stuff would work. That Tracer has an upgrade to her pulse bomb that essentially kind of generates extra pulse bombs.
She's drawing freehand now. She's no longer tracing.
That's what it is. Basically generates extra pulse bombs on other nearby enemies if you land a stick.
That'd be cool.
But it sounds like that's something you would have to level up to unlock on her. So it sounds like that's the way they may be going with character progression.
Does that sound like it's overall character progression or like an in-match, like a Dota style?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
This doesn't
Because I feel like if that creates a lot of haves, have-nots sort of situation where it's like, I leveled up Tracer, so now at the beginning of every match I can do this thing that may be overpowered or may have to be balanced versus people who don't have the upgrade. Whereas if it became a Dota thing, and then it's like, okay, late game, people are going to start popping off weirder shit.
Yeah, let me find that tweet.
It might not be specific, I don't know, but like
that would make sense. Yeah,
but something like that. Your description of that ability sounds to me like something you would earn in match, right? As opposed to
like
just having all the time.
Everything will be reset.
Yeah,
at the beginning of the match. Yeah. The leveling system is going to change certain abilities of the heroes in the game. I do not know if this feature is PvE only or also PvP.
Okay, so, if it's PvE only, then whatever, who cares, right? Because then it
sounds like that's kind of fuzzy at the moment. Yeah. But I would be surprised if all of these leaks are not basically accurate at this point.
Yeah, Blizzard's been a pretty leaky ship for a long time. So
especially now.
Yeah. As employees get more and more frustrated with the way this is going, they are.
That letter from Congress, it cites outright that like a lot of your own employees have been very vocally against the actions that you've taken.
Yeah.
Normally, I started to say the announcement of a new analog system I would have put at the very end of news, but then I realized like actually the last couple I don't think we've even covered on here.
Yeah, maybe not,
because Analog has just kind of gotten into a routine of putting out kind of the same thing over and over.
Yeah,
just
sort of
fine.
Yeah,
they did the NES and then the Super Nintendo and then the Genesis, and they're all like kind of more or less the same little.
The NES one is significantly more expensive.
Well,
that thing held its value because
you're talking about the very first NT?
The NT Mini.
Oh, okay.
The FPGA one, because the stuff they did before that was
the one they did before that was the one they like cobbled together out of original Nintendo hardware. That's right. I forgot about that. Anyway, this thing feels like the Analogue Pocket feels like enough of a big deal to talk about it right now.
Hell yeah.
It is basically the same thing they've been doing for big consoles. It's FPGA based. It looks like a Game Boy, like it's got the form factor of an original Game Boy. Out of the box, it will play Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. They're also going to put out cartridge adapters in the future for Game Gear, Neo Geo Pocket Color, and Atari Lynx. It's $200. It's got an incredibly high quality LCD screen.
Yeah, that thing looks
obscene pixel density.
Right.
It's a 1600 by 1440 screen at 3.5 inches,
which is like perfectly formatted for Game Boy stuff.
So that's hilarious. That's literally just a 10x res increase over the 160 by 144 resolution of the Game Boy. So you get like a perfect 10x scale on those games. But that's a pixel density of 615 pixels per inch, which like your average iPhone is like in the 300s.
Yeah.
Like it's an absurdly high-res screen for the size. And they basically say like that's so that they can do good scaling on any of the type of handheld games from any of those different consoles that you would want to play on this thing. But I think the biggest deal with this thing is it's got a second FPGA in it, and they are opening it up pretty widely, it sounds like, to third-party development.
So I think like a lot of the talk around this has been weird because they talk about it as a second FPGA open to development or whatever.
But apparently it's not two identical
It's not.
chips,
so
right? It's the second one.
Okay, this is my understanding of it from following people on Discord talking about it in some of these circles, some of these FPGA circles and whatnot, as well as some of the other interviews they gave to other outlets around there, that there was the Cyclone 5, which is the same chip that is the same FPGA that's in the previous analog hardware. It's also the same thing as in the Mister, the D10 Nano. And then there's a Cyclone 10, which is a newer chip, but it may be that the newer FPGA, but it may be smaller. So I don't know that they got out and gave sizes of these things, which in some cases the size or the model number of the chip determines the capabilities of it.
Yeah.
So my guess, what I've pieced together is it seems like the system level stuff, like a menu and all this other stuff, runs on one of those, and the cores of the game playing cores runs on the other one. It sounds like developers will have access to the more powerful of the.
Okay, that was my big question.
Yeah, the second FPGA for open source developers seemed like, well, wait, what? Why do two?
Yeah,
it seems like because they're reserving one for menu stuff, and then one is just open for whatever they want to do in addition to whatever open source development happens.
That still makes me wonder why they wouldn't just use a more traditional, like an ARM CPU
so that's what the Mister
as a coprocessor instead of two FPGAs.
The Mister is built on that. There's a Linux backend behind all that stuff.
It just runs on the ARM.
Yeah, and then you've got the FPGA for the actual heavy lifting.
But we ain't no.
I don't know.
Programmers,
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I'm sure people will come up with interesting uses.
Even if it's just as simple as them being able to say continue to say no software emulation by not having a. It might just be like a marketing thing almost. But.
Yeah. Based on like interviews I've read with the main Analog guy,
I
could see this like kind of intense devotion to principle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
being behind that.
Maybe that's what is driving it. I don't know. Anyway. The upshot of this is so these devices come out and then traditionally, it's been a weird trajectory. The NT Mini came out and it played NES games. And then suddenly Kevin Horton, Kevtris, the guy that is now an Analog employee, he's doing all the coding for the FPGA cores for these units. He released an unofficial firmware for that added support for all types of other 8-bit systems, like a lot of different platforms were suddenly supported on this device, loading off of SD card, all that other stuff. So the NT Mini became far more capable than just playing NES games. It was great. When they announced that they were going to do the SNES with the Super NT, I think the assumption, at least my assumption, was like, oh, it'll probably also play all those other ones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And maybe like all the other 16-bit stuff too. Like that was...
Yeah, maybe,
I was all set to buy a Super NT when they announced it because I was like, well, shit, this is going to do everything I want.
But that's not a way for them to sell more hardware.
Yes. Then they can't turn around and also make a Genesis equivalent, which is what they did.
Right. So the closest the Super NT got to that was unofficial jailbreak firmware. Came out that let you load games off of SD cards and dump carts and stuff like that. Very useful features in that unofficial firmware. Yeah. Why wouldn't you do it? All that other stuff.
But did not add other consoles to the list.
Precisely, yes. It didn't even add the ones that were added to the NT Mini.
Right.
And then the Mega SG came along, which is the same thing for the Genesis, but for the Genesis, there's an unofficial firmware there that lets you do that stuff. But again, they did not add other 16-bit or any other systems to that firmware in an unofficial capacity. Mm-hmm. So I didn't buy one.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it was just like, well, the Mr. Plays Genesis stuff exceedingly well.
Right. Like that's why I have never.
There are tremendous open source alternatives now.
As soon as
to the Analog product line.
As soon as yes. As soon as the breadth of the Mr. project became apparent, like it killed any desire I had to buy any of the Analog stuff until this thing.
Because this is a portable. It will have a dock. When it's docked, you can buy the dock and it will. Yes, more or less. You can output to a TV and use Bluetooth controllers. If it is in the dock.
Yeah.
So the dock is sold separately.
Yeah, we don't know how much the dock is going to be yet.
I think if it said $80.
No, they haven't announced a price yet.
Okay.
For the dock,
the DAC is.
Oh wait, I'm
80,
sorry.
The DAC is $80.
Oh yeah, the DAC. I'm pretty sure they said they will announce pricing details on the dock next year.
And this will be compatible with the DAC if you want to go out to an analog monitor or something like that through the dock. The dock can use the DAC.
Dock can use the
DAC.
DAC.
But yeah, so I, like a device that runs Game Boy cartridge, there is zero scenarios where I'm like pulling out my Game Boy cartridges again to use them. Like it's just not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to carry that shit around.
Jan does.
I do.
Yeah, he does.
I do carry.
I respect it.
Yeah.
Speaking of devotion to principles, but
I got a ton of GBA games. Yeah. I'm just not going to dig through a box of them. I'm not going to carry them around. Whatever.
Yeah. Like if I got one of these things, I would probably put my original Game Boy Tetris cart in it.
Sure.
And never take it out.
Yeah.
Let it just stay there.
So, when they say like, hey, we're going to sell cartridge adapters for Lynx games, I was like, no, I'm not. No. I'm not going to do that.
I mean, it's cool for people that want it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But presumably this will also
it has an SD card slot.
Of course it does. Yeah. But and you would like to think that like, okay, similar to the previous devices, there will be an unofficial firmware that allows loading off of SD.
Yeah.
And at that point, I am interested in Neo Geo and Lynx stuff because I'm just broken. I'm broken in that specific way where I occasionally want to play a goddamn Lynx game.
Jan's into.
I got a bunch of Game Gear games.
Jan's into Mons.
Right,
You're into Biomotor Utatron.
Yeah.
We can find a compromise here.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Wait, that was Neo Geo, wasn't it?
Yeah, Biomotor Utatron. Yeah.
Yes.
And so that stuff is interesting, and also, what do other developers feel that they want to port cores that they may have written for Mister?
That is the big question.
Like, there's a lot of open source stuff out there that could theoretically be ported.
Like, if this thing,
and also, by this having a slightly higher profile than a really wild project like the Mister does, will it potentially bring in new people with FPGA skill that might code new cores that could then benefit a platform like the Mister as well?
Sure.
And I think that would be interesting if it attracted more core writers and stuff like that were out there doing stuff.
It's been
across the board, not just for the analog device.
I'm nowhere near as deep into that stuff as you, but I even have read, like, I think it was on Reset Era, there's a thread about the Mister, and you see people like, literally, I think I saw a guy saying like, yeah, I work on FPGAs in the defense industry by day.
Yeah.
I'm totally going to buy a D10 Nano and get in on this. Like, I'm going to start working on a core. Or I'm going to start contributing to. There's
a guy
people with the skill from other places, from their other sectors, are jumping in on the Mister,
that are just like, hey, cool, let's get into this. Like, there's a bunch of people running Patreons saying like, hey, I'm going to port these cores, and they'll be open source and whatever. But like, if you want early access to them, we'll do this and do this. Like, so there's just like a weird little cottage industry that has sprung up around the Mister in ways that have been pretty fun.
That stuff's awesome. I mean, I guess it remains to be seen until people get their hands on this thing exactly what it's capable of. But
exactly, I don't, and that's where I'm not technically minded enough to even tell you,
right?
Like, because I don't know which model of which type of the FPGAs they put in there, how many logic units they'll have to work with, all this other stuff. I don't know. That information is probably out there and available, but I have not retained it, so I can't tell you.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, that you can say it has a Cyclone 5 in it, but it might be less capable than what's in,
or it might be more. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't want to assume it's going to like be able to handle all the stuff that runs on a Mister right now. But if it did,
because there's also RAM considerations too, like the Mister, and maybe this is something specific to the way the Mister operates that wouldn't be a problem here. Because again, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. When they wanted to get into the Neo Geo stuff, it became like, well, we need SD RAM. We need really fast RAM because all this stuff is so timing specific.
Right.
And so originally it was a 32 meg SD RAM was used for the SNES and Genesis cores and all this other stuff. Or not Genesis, SNES and a handful of other ones. And then they're like, well, we need to find a way to do 128 meg SD RAM
for all those Neo Geo
at a fast enough speed to fit all these Neo Geo games in. And they did. So I don't know what the RAM situation is on Analog's device.
It's hard to imagine they have taken such kind of specific considerations into account.
I just have no idea.
Maybe they did.
I don't know jack shit about this stuff. At the end of the day, I know enough to fucking get a bunch of stuff wrong, probably. So
sure.
So that's where I'm at. But it's an intriguing device that I would probably that I would consider picking up.
It looks really nice.
It's sexy.
The design of it is really nice. I mean,
that music stuff tied into it too.
Ships with like a sequencer built in. You can do a bunch of
Nanoloop is a pre-existing sequencer for Game Boy and stuff like that has been around.
Yeah.
So that's a cool inclusion.
Yeah,
for sure.
But like, even conservatively, in a situation where, let's say, they got like the SNES and Genesis cores running on it, and that was it.
Yeah.
And this thing suddenly became a portable SNES and Genesis on top of all the other stuff it does.
Sure.
And if it could output all that stuff to the TV, like, holy shit,
that's
could. Does the open development stuff read to you like they just are a little spooked by what the Mister is doing?
Spooked's probably not the word.
I think they're not afraid that it's like horning in on their.
I think maybe it is
territory.
I'll tell you specifically. I didn't buy their Genesis hardware, even though I think it looks fantastic, because I have a Mister. So like, there's one sale. I don't know, but is it eating into it in a grand fashion? I don't know. How many people are even aware that Analog makes these devices?
Yeah.
But then
it's like a rabbit hole inside a rabbit hole.
Exactly. So, but at the same time, the Mister is like a fucking deep ass rabbit hole of like, at some point you get into Linux scripts and all this other, stuff that some people are just not going to have the mind for it. It's not that hard to wrap your mind around it. And people have made it very easy, but it is not a super user-friendly device, from you assembling it by inserting boards in top of boards and all that other stuff, building it, to the way the front end works today. And maybe they'll get to a point where they care about, that type of user interface and user experience on the Mister, that they overhaul it in a way that makes it a friendlier menu. I think that they could go down that road. But right now it's a case of like, okay, here's an example. You've got the official GitHub repository for Mister that has the vast majority of the cores, whether they're arcade games or consoles or whatever. Here's the SNES core. And there's just one file. It's like a .rbf file you download and run on the device. And so here's Pac-Man. Here's Rally X. Here's the SNES. They all come from that official repo. Now, on top of that, you've got cases where like, okay, the arcade games the ROMs need to be assembled in a very specific way. You need to find this MAME set, run this batch file to spit out this file that you then put in this directory on the Mister. So you need to be able to get file access to the Mister, and you got choices there. Do you want to do it over FTP? Do you want to pull the SD card out and copy it over manually? Do you want to do it over a Samba share? Are you using Wi-Fi? Do you want to run Wi-Fi scripts to get that stuff up and running? So that stuff just gets, like, people's eyes will just glaze over at that point.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, that goes without saying.
And then on top of that, you got cases where, like, Rally X can also run new Rally X. So now you're like, oh, I need to compile 2 ROMs for this one, and then I need to figure out where to put the second one, so when I hit load, it shows up right there very easily in the menu. And once you get it all up and running, it's easy, it's smooth. Like, once you wrap your mind around the specific way the Mister stuff works, it's very easy.
Yeah.
I think anyone could do it at that point, but the steps to get there, there are a lot of hurdles that I think are going to scare a lot of people.
A lot of following tutorials, and getting into the weeds,
and
this could be a more streamlined pathway to getting there.
Well, yes, but then also you've got a guy who is on Patreon doing cores for Commando and a lot of other Capcom games. Most of his games are not in that official repo, so if you want those games, you have to find that GitHub repo, pull the files yourself, and copy them over. And then set up, and he's named his stuff differently in a way that has his name. He's tagged them in a way.
Wow.
So it doesn't conform to the same naming structure as the stuff in the official repository. And so it is fucking Wild West on top of Wild West on top of Wild West.
Let's just say that UX is not a priority in this project.
Not right now.
At the moment.
Yeah, and I think that there's room for something like that to make it easier, but like to what end? But because like I said, assembling the hardware is still going to be too much for some people.
And it's all just changing too fast for that to be practical.
That too. And I think it's an amazing project. I really do. But that stuff will eventually limit its growth if that's something that people care about. Like, it doesn't have to be the biggest thing in the world. Who cares? It's awesome as is. If as long as people are working on it, then great, whatever. So the analog thing ends up being like, potentially, if it ends up with many of those same cores for arcade games or however it ends up shaking out, maybe that ends up being a somewhat user-friendlier way for people to access that stuff. And so that's the stuff that's like, okay, does that then undercut the Mister?
That's what I was getting at, because even just with the portables that it supports out of the box, and again, let's just say Genesis and Super Nintendo, like that alone is such a huge bulk of the classic game library.
Yeah, and right now there are no...
That would be hugely enticing.
There are no cores, at least no public cores for the Mister that run Game Boy Advance or Lynx or Neo Geo Pocket.
Wow.
So Kevtris must have written those completely from. Well, I think he deliberately doesn't look at the Mister source to stay clean. But yeah.
I mean, the big thing for me is like the nice screen, the portability, and the dock. Like,
yeah,
it's not just that this thing could replicate the functionality of a Mister. It's that it then also kind of acts like a Switch at the same time.
Right. And they've got the same stuff that they've had on some of the other devices, where like you want specific filters and stuff like that and the cores coded by other individuals will have access to that stuff as well. Those scaling and whatever other features that they put in the menu.
It's just exciting to see them kind of reversing course on the direction they've been going.
Well, I think it's a clean way for them to do it, right? Yeah. It feels like they've been very, since the days of the NT Mini, they've been reluctant to do like multi-system devices.
Yeah.
So even out of the gate, this is a multi-system device by design. And we'll see if they make good on the cartridge adapters. Like that's, they had originally talked about doing cartridge adapters for the NT Mini in some capacity, and that never materialized as far as I can tell. So I should go back and look. Maybe it did, but I, that stuff because since that can run ColecoVision, all this other stuff, they're like, oh, we'll do this someday.
Yeah,
it's just never really.
ColecoVision cartridge adapter is a pretty niche market.
This whole thing is though.
I know,
right?
But again, it's
someone's out there going like, I need to play the fucking Smurfs on ColecoVision. I need to play that game right fucking now.
That's a third order.
That's my
niche.
game.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's an audience of one.
All right, it's not me. That ain't me.
Yeah, the thing looks awesome. It got a bunch of attention when it got announced. It looks like it probably has the potential to become their most popular thing.
I bet.
And that could lead to a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, and it creates a situation where like I would like to see one of those, but at the same time, I'm interested in seeing what people do with it post-release. But because it will end up likely selling out, it becomes a situation where it's like, I guess I have to buy one of these at launch.
I was gonna ask, do they always only do limited runs of their stuff? Like,
no, the NT Mini is out of stock and has been for some time. I doubt they'll do another run of that thing exactly. Maybe they'll turn those guts into something that is not aluminum and expensive someday. Right.
But I mean, this thing, like, surely they're not just gonna like do one run of it and then stop.
I doubt it.
Okay,
unless the screens are hard to source, like who knows? Maybe there's some limitation there. Yeah. I don't know. It seems like a really cool device, and like I said, I know just enough about this stuff to be dangerous, so I'm sure I got a lot of the tech stuff wrong along the way, but there you go. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that stuff's cool. League of Legends, have you heard of it?
Yeah. No, yeah.
I guess it's been a decade. Oh yeah, right. You actually play.
Yeah.
Still?
No. I've gone off.
You're all in on Dota. Dota 2 now, right?
Yes, actually.
How's your Wind Ranger going?
I switched over to the what's the little troll sniper called? I think is it just called Sniper? There we go.
Sniper Trollmon.
Everything in that game is as obviously and straightforwardly named as possible.
Okay.
The guy who is a sniper is named Sniper.
Yes.
The guy who has a giant axe is named Axe.
It's got this real like fucking Street Fighter 2. We have to call him Dictator because so the name so there's no so the name is not ambiguous.
Pretty much
vibe to it.
Pretty much exactly that. Riot. I guess the League has turned 10, and they did a big stream.
Turn 10 is making a League game.
Oh boy!
Wow.
Riot announced a bunch of stuff for this anniversary. League is finally coming to consoles.
I feel I guess I don't know. I was gonna say I feel like they missed their window, but what the fuck do I know about League's popularity these days?
It's hard to say.
That could be fucking huge.
Because that was something I feel like last generation there was loose talk about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
like Microsoft basically went to Riot and said anything you fucking need, however much you want, let's fucking go.
And like you heard stories about they had a controller enabled version of the game internally for a long time and stuff like that.
But the talk was always that they didn't want to just do League for consoles. They wanted to do something that was a little more appropriate for consoles.
Yeah.
But maybe consoles got to a point where that stuff is like less of a farce than maybe it seemed back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly got a lot of projects in the oven
this
now.
is certainly not the only thing that going on. The console version is called League of Legends Wild Rift.
Okay.
The map, it sounds like they've modified the map. It's got obviously controller support. Sounds like they're aiming to make the matches a little bit shorter.
So that's a different game then. So maybe that's kind of what maybe that's what I was
or a modified version of the game for consoles. It sounds like the core stuff is kind of the same.
It is still it's not exactly the same. You are managing a lord.
Yes, definitely. They're also bringing Teamfight Tactics to mobile.
Oh no,
which is not the slightest bit surprising.
No, don't do this to me.
That's going to be out there. And they're doing some other stuff. They said they've got a fighting game in the works.
Yes.
Which
it's the worst kept secret in the world, I think.
Not surprising considering they bought a fighting game developer. It's called Project L. Sounds like that's kind of all there is to know about it.
I'm very excited for this.
Yeah,
this is huge potential. Yeah, the Rising Thunder devs, simplifying, making fighting games accessible. These guys were at the forefront, and then they've got League of Legends money. You know.
Do you think that the League of Legends characters lend themselves well to being in a fighting game?
100%.
Yeah,
I don't know enough about the characters themselves.
A bunch of them are just straight up ninjas.
Okay. Yep. You could put a ninja in a fighting game, I bet.
Yeah.
I can't think who would be the Ryu, though.
So is it not just Teemo?
They bring Ryu.
No. Yeah, they probably just throw Ryu.
They just buy them.
Ask me how many other League characters I can name.
How many other League characters can you name?
None.
Fantastic.
Oh, man.
There's a panda.
Yep.
I don't think they said what Project L is tied into, the fighting game. But they also have Project A, which is a kind of colorful, slightly cartoony looking first-person competitive shooter. And that
class-based or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they say character-based.
I think the full name of that is Overwatch.
Yeah. That is explicitly not set in the League universe. That is going to be separate.
Okay.
And they did put out some footage of that. It is very much like in that Overwatch vein. It looks like the shooting is a little more Call of Duty, though. Like they're straight up aim down sights. Like, they even pitch it as precise. They talk about like precise gunplay or something like that at the exact moment that you see them aim down the sights of a rifle. So it seems like they're going for a little bit more of a Call of Duty kind of shooting model, but with a bunch of outlandish hero abilities.
Interesting.
And that's kind of
worked real well when Call of Duty tried it.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
So anyway, like Riot is officially trying to make other games now instead of just quietly doing it.
Right, yeah.
Like never talking about it.
I feel like coming out and announcing that stuff is weird.
Especially without names or anything. It's just like, hey, here's some stuff we're trying. We don't have final names for it. Here's some test footage.
But maybe that's a case where they're like, we need to move ahead with something, and maybe announcing it will be the thing that lets us actually finish and release a game. Yeah. Because they've just been quietly making and killing games for the past 10 fucking years.
That's the sound of it, yeah.
7, I don't know.
Yeah.
But for a lot of Riot's existence, it's been all these skunkworks projects of like, oh, we're making this game. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Or even in some cases where they put games out under different names so it was not associated with Riot, where they beta tested and then quietly shut down games. Like, it's just been fucking weird.
Yeah. Oh, and they have a card game, I forgot, called Legends of Runeterra. Card games. Everybody loves. Yeah, right, doing some stuff.
Yeah.
We mentioned, I think it was last week, that Google Stadia is launching on the 19th of November.
Yeah.
For founders,
Yes. Yeah. Founders, yes.
Speaking as a founder.
Speak freely. You're among founder friends.
This news story seems like some straight up garbage ass bullshit.
It's pretty lousy.
Because it's like the thing they marketed the most. They're like,
it was like the thing.
It's not going to do that. It's not going to do the thing.
Yeah, so they've
play it here, then go ahead and play it there.
Well, no. That's the stuff that they said
that they advertised
would be next year.
Okay.
Out of the gate, they were like, hey, this year it's only on Chromecast. You will not play in a web browser in 2019.
Right.
That is 2020. When the free tier exists, you will do it. You will need a Chromecast Ultra. Like, they were upfront about this stuff. The stuff specifically is they're like, hey, the controller will only work wirelessly with a Chromecast Ultra.
Yeah.
Like, so
anything else you want to use the Stadia controller with until whenever they update stuff next year, you have to plug into that device.
So the whole point of the controller was that it was supposed to be Wi-Fi on its own and completely bypass the device.
Right.
Because that would be faster at talking to Google servers than talking to a Chromecast Ultra, which then talks to Google servers. The whole point was to remove that hop. Yeah. The whole, like, hey, check out our technology. That was like the one thing about it that you were like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I guess it would work that way. That does seem smart. And like, oh, it's super not going to do that yet. Yeah. Maybe. I don't, like, what the fuck is this thing?
Yeah. And again, pairing that with the, what is it, $130 price of entry to play it this year. Like, it just, this early launch feels more and more just like kind of a beta test.
Oh, yeah.
That you're paying to get into.
Of course.
At this point.
Yeah. I got it so we can make a video with it. Yeah. Honestly, I was just like, I don't know if they'll send us one. Let's just fucking make sure we
get the controller in here and see how it is. And that $130 comes with a Chromecast Ultra, right?
Yes.
Okay. So at least if you buy into that, you can do it that way.
Yeah.
I did not own a Chromecast Ultra, so
there you go.
Sure.
Just don't try to use that controller with anything else. Unless you have USB-C.
I'm going to try to.
Unless you have USB-C cable lying around.
My Switch came with one. I'm fine.
Yeah. I don't think we talked about this a few weeks ago when the creative director of Ghostwire Tokyo, Ikumi Nakamura, who kind of became the internet's sweetheart at E3.
Yes.
Just adorable.
At the Bethesda press conference. But she was one of, if not the lead on that new game from Tango. And then she left the studio a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Kind of out of nowhere. Now she's out there on Twitter with everyone's favorite troll, Hideki Kamiya
Oh, jeez.
from Platinum, talking like they want to make a new Okami.
Yeah.
Although after this first tweet went out with him acting pretty confident that it was going to happen, they've since kind of started hedging, more like saying, hey, we want to make one. What do you think, Capcom?
I don't know, man. Her eyes like fucking popped out of her head like, I can't believe you're saying that. Like, do you think they're actually
they posted a
something?
goofy little video where he talked like they were going to make a new Okami, and then she kind of runs out of frame.
Yep.
Which could be
She's like,
taken either way.
She's like, I'm fuck this. I'm out of here.
But then
You're crazy.
later, he tweeted later, he posted another tweet that says, Okami will be back, ... someday, ... I believe. So
we all do.
maybe not actually a done deal.
Damn it.
But she worked with Platinum on, I believe, Bayonetta previously. So like it's not
That sounds right.
it's not a stretch to think that they could get back together to make a new one of those if they could ever get Capcom to sign off on it.
I don't know about that.
Which would be fun.
I feel like the people of Platinum have made some Capcom games that'd be,
Yeah. Hey, check it out. What if Okami except not a dog and also not Okami?
What?
Love it.
But like
All right.
totally just make the same game with I don't know,
With Beautiful Joe.
what other animal would
dude.
I mean, what other non
Hell yeah.
what other non-copyright infringing animal might you put in there?
A different dog.
The pug.
How about a bear?
Yeah. How about a bear
how about a bear?
dog? A mystical dog that's also a bear.
All I'm
cat
saying,
dog.
you know, Capcom don't got a copyright on watercolors.
Just a big old tanuki.
Yeah.
If you just want to make that kind of game with a different animal and a different name, maybe just go for it. I don't know. Anyway, that seems like a glimpse into what she might be looking to do next with Platinum.
That'd be great.
Maybe.
And I'm trying to think, does Platinum, they've got Bayonetta 3 still going. Trying to think if they have anything else announced, like Astral Chain came out.
Right.
I
don't
Some
know.
fucking
Yeah.
license thing that they're gonna make me play, and I'm gonna
Yes,
hate.
that's the other Platinum.
We don't talk about that one.
Let's see.
It's Platinum Games and Platinum Studios. There's two separate.
Completely different.
One makes Just Cause.
It's kind of a weird story, but I thought it was interesting. Witcher 3 came out on Switch, and it runs surprisingly well, but it's like very low res. Like obviously they made some trade-offs
Yeah.
to get the Witcher 3 running on Switch. But in the weird, wild, woolly world of Switch hacking, people dug into that install and found that it has all of the graphics quality options of the PC version.
Yeah. So
it's just a straight like PC port essentially.
Sort of is probably maybe based on the same build or something like that. Yeah.
So like the menus are technically in there. They just probably
Yeah.
chose the settings that work the best on Switch, and then
hid the
and then
menus or
grade
whatever.
out the menu,
Yes.
comment out the menu code, and go.
So yeah, modders have found that they can re-enable those menus and then tweak a bunch of like, you know, foliage settings and resolution and other stuff, and have gotten the game running even better on the Switch. Of course, obviously you're making more compromises that
I
way.
was gonna say, like, what does that even mean?
Yeah. I just think it's more that it's fascinating that a Switch version of a game could still have options like that hidden in there
Yeah.
that people could access.
I remember, what was it? Mercenaries. The first Mercenaries on Xbox. All of the values for damage and weapon, like there were like a ton of the math in Mercenaries was just straight up in an INI file.
Yeah. Sure.
So in a world where you could install those Xbox games to a hard drive and run them off a hard drive that maybe you used a copy of MechWarrior to do something weird with,
Oh, strange.
would let you be invincible and all this other stuff. It was just like cool to see a console game that let you fuck with that sort of stuff.
My favorite example of that was by the time Skyrim came out, like I reviewed Skyrim on the 360. I believe by the time that game came out, they had already moved over to the regular generic USB stick to hold saves on,
Right, yeah.
instead of the like proprietary memory card. And you could just take, you know, there were already like homebrew utilities on the PC to bust open the data format of a 360 save on a USB stick. So I was able to just extract my 360 Skyrim save and apply it to the PC version.
That's cool.
And just keep going with my 360 character on the PC
That's pretty rad.
after that version came out.
It's crossplay.
Yeah. Yes, that's the original crossplay. Anyway, weird stuff going on in that space, even though it's obviously
I wonder how many Switches got melted.
Yeah, they did say that it's pretty hard on the Switch
I could imagine.
to run that game with some of those features.
I bet it does not last. I bet that's a battery sucker right at that point.
Yeah.
Just undock it and it's just like,
Yep. Just telling the Switch to do things it wasn't made to do. And again, obviously pretty kind of weird gray area there. But fascinating. That's all I got for news.
okay.
Because we just couldn't wait to talk about wrestling. And what a boondoggle that appears to be.
Oh, right. You had that in
Yes.
this. Yeah. No, that's,
So yeah.
that thing seems like a real mess.
Indeed. Bladder check, email check.
Emails. Let's go.
I'm ready to go.
Shall we
I'm ready to go.
Soldier forward.
I don't give a fuck.
All
Play
right.
the music. We can't go to break now.
That's right. We're here.
I'm peeling
Locked us in.
my phone case
Yeah, that
apart
thing is,
over
like,
here.
disintegrating over there.
It's just, I don't know what.
Mine's been all
like
warping in weird places too.
like
I
our
don't know what's going on
headphones.
with all that.
I don't know. This is gross.
Phones. Threw them in the
Leaving
trash.
flakes all over. Oh, that's from the headphones.
Yeah, no.
We had to replace those. I know.
Yeah, these headphones are gross.
Next quarter.
Bring in my own
Emails.
headphones and just plug them in.
These emails were sent
You'll be able
to
to.
bombcast@giantbomb.com. First email is from Scott in Indiana. Hey, big fan. Just emailing to ask what your coverage plan for Ice Age Scrat's Nutty Adventure looks like. Thanks.
That's what we've got Ben on right now, actually. So
Yeah, we didn't
He's
want
going
to.
to really invest for a full.
Yeah.
We didn't want to get into it really, but
I get spoiler cast in the works.
Yeah, we really thought he should dig deeply.
Yeah.
Into
We
every-
didn't want to spoil our extra life plans.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
there
but
you go.
You held our feet to the fire on this one.
Yeah.
We were going to do a picture-in-picture the whole time.
Right.
Ben just doing the whole dang
Yes.
thing. But
Well,
I guess
Well,
let's just
the Ice Age
take out
was
the whole
the
thing.
big picture. And
I mean,
then
you
we'd
said
have
you
Ben in
wanted
the
another
corner.
endurance run,
Yeah, it's what the people wanted.
and then here comes Scrat's Nutty Adventure.
I feel like you just actually signed Ben up for this.
Oops.
That's what he gets for not being here.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what we're going to do for the last 2-3 hours when we're completely out of it, 24 hours,
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Tune
right.
in and
He
find
is.
out.
He is going to finish it. Next email was signed Rai from Peoria, Illinois.
Okay.
While watching Giant Bomb Infinite, one of the Persona 4 videos came up, and I got to wondering if it counts as a Strand game. If yes, does that make you more or less excited for Death Stranding? What is a Strand?
What
I can't
is
actually.
the Strand? We're
I
under
can't
embargo.
currently answer your question.
What is an S-Link?
It's not.
Slinky.
It's not a strand. How about
It's not a Strand link.
that?
The S
While
does not
making
stand
connections,
Does the S not stand for Strand?
it's social. It's social link.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. Just trying here.
No.
Okay.
You'll
We're-
never get me to
we're-
tell.
Definitively going to say Persona 4 is not a Strand game.
No, definitely not.
Cannot confirm nor deny.
No.
Okay. Noah from Eagan, Minnesota. Since we're nearing the end of the year, I've been thinking about my top 10 games of 2019. I'm also on a gaming podcast, but unlike you guys, we don't have extra categories like best ongoing game.
Oh, you should. It's fun.
It's true. It's your podcast. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's right.
My question to you is, how would you handle ranking a game like Apex Legends in a top 10 list? Do I take the whole 10 months of it to heart? How is that fair for games such as Sayonara Wild Hearts or Sekiro, which don't have a roadmap of updates and new features?
Well, I think that cuts both ways, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Apex, has it been just getting steadily better over those 10 months, or has
Yeah.
it been a rocky time?
Kind of, in that
there's-
case, it's a little more up and down.
Yeah,
I think.
depending on your views on the game and the changes they've made to it, that can just as easily be a very negative thing for Apex.
True.
As a very positive one.
Also, again, owing to the supremely arbitrary nature of top 10 lists.
Yeah, that might also say who gives a shit.
Yeah, if you want to say, hey, the first week of Apex Legends is the best time I've ever had in my life, and then it sucks shit after that, and you still want to say it's your number one game of the year,
Yeah.
go for it.
If that's the best time you had with games in this year, then it's the best time you have with games this year.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
couldn't a game pull a No Man's Sky and completely rework
Turn it
everything?
around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or like an Anthem could have, been completely different a couple months after than when it came out.
Oh, man.
It could have, man.
God.
And I wanted it to be
Anthem.
so bad.
Right?
You know what? Perfect segue to this email from Joe in New York.
They patched Anthem last week.
Oof.
I haven't played Anthem in a long time, but it seems Anthem's plan for their next season, which he put in sneer quotes, is to just repeat the Cataclysm event from last season.
God damn it.
It's like they're not even trying anymore. For some reason, to me, Anthem gives off the feel of a seasoned game that's run its course and is at the end of its life.
Sure.
A game that's run out of new ideas.
Okay.
A game ready to retire. Then I remember that it came out this year, 8 months ago. It's not even a year old. I had not heard that news about them bringing that Cataclysm event back because
same.
When it came out the first time, the community for that game was not feeling it.
I don't know. They patched the game.
Okay.
And changed even they patched some bugs and changed some numbers and all this sort of stuff, balanced some weapons, all this other stuff. I read the patch notes. And I was just like, I wonder who they're doing that for.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, presumably there are still people that are playing Anthem and there's still some people who are into it, but how many of them are there?
And is it worth it?
Is it worth it? I mean, they probably have to. We talked about it before, but that calculus of if you abandoned Anthem completely right now or 3 months ago or whatever and just never touched it again, how much damage would that do to your next project?
Right.
When Dragon Age comes along or whatever.
Because that has to be the calculation that EA management is making, right?
Right. They're like, okay, how much money do we need to waste on Anthem in order to scrub away the community's memory of Anthem being shitty?
I don't think you can.
But I don't think it helps because I think people that have that mentality hard and fast stopped playing Anthem a long time ago.
Yeah.
So who's playing Anthem?
You would have to almost make a whole
That's
new
my
game's
question.
worth of content, I think, to pull that off.
Yeah, and
It
seems
that's not going to happen.
And I'd be curious to see if they ever make good on any of the stuff they promised pre-release,
Like that roadmap.
that original roadmap,
the ongoing narrative of Anthem.
Because I just look at that and go why would you do it?
None of that.
Why would you do it?
I don't think any of that will ever happen.
Well, they're not.
That's my guess too. I don't know if that's being overly cynical, but it's just when I think about what the math probably looks like for that, why would you do it?
Yeah.
Unless it's to say we made good on the thing we promised.
Yeah.
And potentially, does it open them up to some kind of class action situation or other?
I have wondered the same thing.
Make good situation where it could, because that was part of them promoting the game pre-release to make people feel better. Do they need to say, "Hey, we've decided to just refund all the money you spent on Anthem"?
I bet they gave themselves every legal out they possibly
They
can.
probably always do. Yeah.
To not have to be held to that standard.
EA lawyers didn't get where they were by being complete idiots.
Yeah.
So. But again, but from a community damage perspective, forget a class action, then take it back to who buys who's going to buy that next game.
Yeah. Anybody else here finish it?
I did not.
I did.
Came close.
You did?
Yeah.
You saw the scene after the credits?
Yeah.
That sets up a completely other storyline.
It's there's more bad guys coming from the east.
Literally, I mean, I guess I could just say it, right? Nobody cares at this point, right?
Go for it.
There is a dead enemy of a completely other faction that you've never seen throughout the game lying on a dissection table. And the people...
The people
leadership
is
is
getting missions from all along are they're just going hey,
holy shit!
these fuckers are back and they're coming.
Oh, we're fucked. These guys are coming back now. Now we
geez.
really got to get ready to fight. And
That sounds cool.
I mean, it was kind of a neat tease
in a game that had no cool stuff in it. Almost, it was something.
The enemy that was laying there dead was a member of the sort of ancient evil that fucked everything up in the first place, but then was not present at all throughout the game. So it's basically a big oh my god, the original bad guys are coming back, and now we're gonna have to fight them.
Oh no!
And none of that will ever come to fruition.
I assumed that was going to be in this Cataclysm thing.
That's what
when
I
they
did,
rolled
yeah,
that out.
yeah.
They'd be like, oh, maybe they'll make good on it here.
Or I thought this ongoing narrative, as they called it, would build up
I'm
to it.
sure that was the original thing.
Or something like that.
At some point, they're like, oh, let's just try to work that into the thing we are doing.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
And again, you got to, on some level, you got to feel bad for people that probably did some amount of work on that content. Will it ever see the light of day? Does it deserve to? I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah.
We may never know.
Yeah.
But.
Next email. Elliot from Houston. I was listening to a recent episode where PartnerNet and Xbox, he calls them demo units. I think he means debugs. PartnerNet and Xbox debugs came up. I'm just going to say debugs because that's what they are. This made me think of the story of the Xbox Underground. For some background, I had never heard about this stuff.
I'm unfamiliar.
For some background, this is the group that in the early 2010s ended up with dozens of debugs and is probably why there is so much security around those now. The group, which was really just a bunch of young gamers, started with the hacked email account of an IT worker at Epic and pivoted to Scaleform, and from there ended up compromising nearly every game development studio. My question to you all is, do you have any insight into the lasting effects of these hacks? Do you have any stories of people who were personally affected by them? The podcast Darknet Diaries did a great multi-part deep dive into this group, including interviews with former members. It's a really interesting story with a sad ending. I looked them up after I read this email, and a bunch of them did federal time.
Holy shit.
For this stuff.
Well, I'm wondering, like, I guess, like, I feel like the dots aren't being connected here or something where, like, okay, so you hacked Epic and then pivoted to Scaleform and then compromised game devs. What does that have to do with debug units?
Well, it sounds like my understanding from the way you put it is that they used that access to go through official channels at Microsoft to get their hands on hardware.
Okay. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. There's a Wikipedia page about this group. It has a bunch of info about some of the stuff they did. But yes, a number of them went to jail over it.
That maybe had something to do with some of the PartnerNet lockdown. Like the PartnerNet lockdown happened pretty late in the cycle.
Yeah.
Like it was at a point when it happened, it was like, oh, okay, I guess, like whatever, it doesn't matter. Like people had access to it for a good long time. But I feel like a lot of the people that I saw talking about, hey, I have access to PartnerNet, were people that found a debug on eBay or something like that. It was like one-off people that got their hands on one through like a developer going under and auctioning off all their stuff, or some relative stealing something, like something like that. It wasn't necessarily this concerted effort. This I'm sure had some impact on things, but
sounds like they also leaked early Durango information back around that time.
Yeah.
They had gotten their hands on. There's seems like it was a pretty organized effort.
This is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that group before.
Wow.
Sounds like they really went to some lengths to compromise that stuff.
And then some of them
did
several
real time.
Several of them went to jail.
Hard time.
Yeah.
Down at Cobb County.
I just pulled the Wikipedia page back up. Activision and Valve were also on that list of companies that they managed to get inside to some degree. Matt in the UK. When you're super in a 2D Mario game and you do that run and duck skid thing to get through a gap that's one block high, that shit's fucking rad.
Right?
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. That's the email. I also agree.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to tell this guy he's not wrong.
Yeah.
It is fun.
It
right. Feels great.
He is, in fact, right.
Yes.
About that.
I would go so far as to say he's damn right.
Yeah.
Very correct.
We continue to get a bunch of email suggestions about the worst song of the 1980s.
God damn it, let it go.
No, I've got several. You don't want to hear them?
Let's hear some.
I don't think I agree with any of them.
Let's play them.
Okay, I got a new one that just came to me just now.
Okay.
The Touch by Stan Bush.
Not that I saw.
No.
If you remove that from the context,
if you remove it,
and just look at it as a song,
that song's good.
Fucking terrible.
If you associate it with Boogie Nights instead,
yes,
right, then it's not nearly as it doesn't have the same kind of impact.
Dare, however, is the best Stan Bush song.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, let me see. I'll start with this one from Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, by far the worst song of the 1980s is Starship's Sarah. I absolutely hated it at the time in 1985, and it's possible I hate it even more now. I don't hate that song.
Starship.
That's not
opened with "We Built the City," closed with "We Built the City," and somewhere in between they did Sarah.
It's a hell of a show.
Yeah.
Wait, is that from experience?
Like they did an MTV show one time where
I thought you actually went to see them.
No, their opening song was
they did it
We
twice.
Built the City. They did it twice.
That's really something.
That may have been the final countdown. Who knows now?
Yeah,
it's all lost.
I just had to look this up. So they are related to Jefferson Starship.
Yes, they are. Yes.
Okay.
Jefferson Airplane.
That Jefferson Starship is a descendant of Jefferson.
At some point, you're like, man, airplanes are old. You know what's new? Starships.
Right.
You know who fuck off? Jefferson.
Yeah.
That's exactly how that name evolves, right?
You're
sitting around getting high with the rest of the band. You're like, fuck airplanes.
I'm Jeffersoned.
Starships.
I liked the cocktail journey machine at the local Mr. Gaddy's pizza place. I don't know why I just thought of that.
Yeah,
I liked
Journey was a good arcade game.
that was kind of cool.
Did you ever get the tape to play?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't remember. I remember being too fascinated by the digital heads
Yeah, they're weird.
to really get much else out of that game.
It's a weird game.
Steve from Lake Zurich, Illinois.
Steve Perry.
Maybe.
Probably.
He doesn't leave a name.
Yeah. All right.
His subject line does say worst 80s song. I can't believe this is still being discussed. You know what? Fuck this email.
Yeah.
Billy Joel, we didn't start the fire.
Oh, that song.
no.
No, look.
If anyone has anything other than a guttural negative reaction to this song, they should be fired immediately. I think I'm firing you from emails right now.
Yeah, exactly. That song.
I mean, it's not like I listen to that song for enjoyment all the time, but
Right.
like that song has its place.
If you want to fucking get a fucking bandwagon going where you're saying fuck Billy Joel, I'm there. But as We Didn't Start the Fire, the worst song of the 80s? No.
Oh, come on.
I can see being annoyed by it. I'm pretty indifferent about the whole thing.
I'm mildly annoyed by it.
I mean,
I'm mildly annoyed by the people that know all the words. And
And they want you to know that they know.
Yeah.
I think 20th
They keep
century
singing them louder and louder.
20th century history is endlessly fascinating. So I just like that song for that
There you
reason.
go.
Mike from Daytona Beach, Florida, thinks that it's Dancing in the Street, hands down.
Well, no.
Sing a little. I'm not familiar.
Dancing, and is that Mick Jagger and David Bowie,
it's
right?
definitely Mick Jagger. I was trying to think.
Yeah.
It's not Stones though. Is it like a side? Is it a solo?
I
Is
think
it
it's just a Mick Jagger, David Bowie classic.
Is Bowie involved with that?
It's the two of them singing.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
God, you're right.
Yeah, the video for that is.
Yeah, I
I
remember
forgot.
the video
I forgot they did multiple
Yeah.
songs together.
What was the other one? What else?
Under Pressure.
No, that's not
Queen.
Mick, that's Queen and David Bowie. That's not
Bowie.
Mick Jagger.
Oh.
Wait.
Oh.
Oh God, you're right. You're
Yeah,
right. That's Freddie
no,
Mercury.
we just
What the hell-
broke
what the hell am I thinking?
Yeah.
Bowie did a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
Got around.
That was a total brain fart. We've gotten a bunch more even since yesterday when I got all these emails together.
Yeah. Let's hear them.
You know what? I could kind of get down with this.
All right.
Zach from Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Kokomo by the Beach Boys.
Yeah. Fuck that fucking song.
I could get into
You
that.
might be onto something.
Yeah. Because also, fuck the Beach Boys, those creepy fuckers. All their melodies sound haunting and nightmarish.
Yeah.
Pet Sounds is a pretty good album.
Yes, I will recognize that
Certainly
it's
influential as hell. Beyond that, I could not care.
The Beach Boys sound like fucking ghosts at a fucking boardwalk. Beach fucking ghosts.
I mean, that's mostly Mike
shit.
Love's fault, right?
Yeah, that creepy, just, ugh. The vibes pouring out of a Beach Boys record are just, ugh.
Yeah.
Drenched in just disgusting.
Easy.
Especially latter day fucking John Stamos era fucking Beach Boys. Fuck that shit.
Nostalgic Beach Boys.
I'm
no.
gonna say I have a soft spot for the Beach Boys because
That's fine.
they'd play Kokomo in front of every Muppets video that I owned. So I was conditioned to like it. And also I really like Barbara Ann because they did a cover of it at the end of Surf Ninjas, which is my favorite movie.
Okay.
Love me some Ernie Reyes Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that,
If you can associate anything with Ernie Reyes Jr., it's gonna make it more positive.
Yeah.
Like that's just how that works.
but then when you started reminding me that John Stamos was heavily attached to
Yeah.
the Beach Boys
Right?
for a while, and
Why
then
was he in that video? I don't understand.
Brian Wilson, that's the dude, right, from the
Yeah.
Beach Boys?
Yeah.
He doesn't even surf. What? He doesn't surf.
Brian
No.
Wilson is a fucking shut-in weirdo.
Yeah,
like
he
he's,
is.
Yeah.
he's a
Like he preaches about
Creative
going to
genius.
California and learning how to surf. He doesn't know how.
Did he write the
Maybe that's why the
lyrics?
songs were so good, man. Because they
God,
always had that yearning.
dreaming.
He just had imposter
He
syndrome.
was
That's why
California
he was such a
dreaming
shut-in.
more than anyone else.
Did you just turn on your opinion on
No,
the Beach
fuck
Boys?
that shit. Garbage.
Okay.
Oh. So the songs are catchy. They're well written.
Okay.
But fuck those fucking songs.
Where do you
What
guys
if
where do you
Kermit
guys
the
stand
Frog
on?
was singing them?
Very
Oh
catchy.
yeah. Where do you guys stand on red
way
wine?
The
Red.
UB40 version?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm into it.
Who else even
You're
did
into
that
it?
song?
Shit. I hate that song.
Yeah.
Who?
Fucking hate that song.
I always hear that referred to as a cover or something, but I don't know who else did
It's Neil
that.
Diamond, isn't it? Is it originally a Neil
Yes,
Diamond song?
you're right. Neil
yeah.
Diamond wrote that song.
I feel like I didn't, when that song was popular, I did not know it was a cover.
Oh really?
But yeah. I was
Not-
just like,
not
oh,
a huge-
UB40 wrote the. That's a
not a-
fun video. They're fucking like, it's all these up close
They get all
shots. There's
drunk
like a
and
little
shit,
wasted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. I don't ever need to hear that song again though.
No.
You're right. Yeah. I had a good Sid from my Commodore 64 of that song.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, sure. Michael from Kansas City, Missouri. 17 by Winger. While the music,
Okay, that's creepy.
Why- yeah,
this
why-
song is fucking creepy.
yeah, I
No,
can't.
yeah, that's-
I can't argue with this. While the music is kind of catchy in a pop hair metal kind of way, just check out these lyrics and tell me you don't want to call the police or child protective services.
There's a
after reading
long
this.
history
It's only
of
17.
songs about underage girls
True.
that you know
Yes.
that
But
that no one was really
But
thinking
this one
about back
says
then.
her daddy says she's too young,
Yeah,
but she's old enough for me.
Yeah, that's
There's an
that's-
Audio Network song that is almost exactly like that song. Now that I'm thinking
With
about
those
it,
lyrics, that'd be.
just bumps the age down to 16, which makes it creepier.
Oh fuck! God damn it!
It's not even the same number of syllables.
Can you drive stick? I can learn.
Oh boy. Great.
What?
We've got a bunch more of these. Do you want more, or should we?
Yes,
wrap it
yeah.
up?
No, yes.
I mean, I could just
I'm fucking mad
sit
now.
here and
we need to get a few more of these
go
out.
through every one that we got. Let's see.
Yeah, 70. Yeah, there's
This email does
it's
not
a
have.
Ringo Starr song that is in a similar style.
Oh, you're right. I saw Winger in concert.
That's about 16. I saw Winger concert.
Huh. This email, this person did not sign their name to it.
Then they can't really fully get behind
That's right.
their stance.
But they're not saying what they think is the worst song. They're asking for our opinion on these 80s hits. Are
Okay.
they horrible?
Okay.
And they lead off with Kokomo by the Beach Boys.
Terrible song.
After that is a Jefferson Starship song. Nothing's going to stop us now.
Oh yeah,
Just
fuck that song.
From the Mannequin soundtrack.
yeah. No, thank you.
Oh Sheila, Ready for the World. I don't know that I can call that song to mind.
Doesn't it literally go, oh,
Sheila.
Yeah, okay, yes, I know, yes. Totally.
I don't know. That song's
Totally,
Yeah, it's-
totally
doesn't matter.
indifferent about that song.
Yeah.
Men at Work, Down Under.
Hell of a song.
Yeah,
no
what?
issues.
Do you
It's a
not
banger.
Do you not
fun.
like? Do you not
Yeah.
like having fun?
I love fun.
Yeah.
Right. Fun's fun.
You love Men at Work.
I respect workers.
Physical
Men
by
I love the movie and the band.
Physical by Olivia Newton-John.
I would not necessarily want to hear it.
No,
But-
right.
that is maybe the most stereotypically 80s song I can think of.
Oh yeah.
I feel like Flashdance or just Maniac is probably the stereotypical 80s song I think of.
But that's a good song.
Yes.
Also, speaking of creepy, borderline illegal hair metal behavior, Cherry Pie by Warrant.
Yeah. She drops the cherry pie in her lap in case you didn't understand what they were talking about before.
Now I get it.
Also, that lady's name was Bobby Brown, but not the Bobby Brown you're thinking of.
Right.
Very different.
She's got a different prerogative.
Yikes. Trying to pull some more that I didn't already flag before I get to the last one. God, another person wrote in about we didn't start the fire. What the hell? It's terrible.
That song, yes.
Look, I'm not over here saying it's a good song, but I'm saying it does not
Not the worst.
it does not create anger in me, other than your scenario of people shouting the lyrics as loud as they can just to prove to you that they know them.
Fucking A.
That's some fucking real trash tier shit.
You can feel that.
Yeah,
fire.
that's like
That's the
like
fire that
I've-
they
that's
built
Like
in
I'm
me.
gonna try to learn the Judas effect and hit him with it.
All right.
Lethal.
You just kind of spin and fall down.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this is the last one from Joshua. The worst 80s song is the Family Ties theme song. I may be late to the party, but after hearing a lot of suggestions, I would like to humbly submit the saccharine soft jazz monstrosity that is Without Us. Because I don't remember it, I have brought a clip.
Yeah, we have to.
Thank you.
We have to.
I can pull it up here. Hold on.
Should we go to the tape?
Yeah, we got a tape.
Okay.
I bet we've been together for a million years.
Fucking straight up yacht rock over here.
Yeah.
This is like Kmart music.
Yeah. This is on the Kmart tapes.
Turn it up a little bit.
Martha Stewart savings or Kmart.
What I ever did before. What would we do, baby, without us?
Oh no, I'm loving it
Yeah.
more as I get in.
Some baby making music right
Yeah.
here.
Without
Reminds me
I
of
just want to hear the improv.
This really reminds me of sweeping the floor in the pharmacy that I worked at in high school after we closed. This is some pharmacy ass music.
Yeah, totally. This
Yeah.
is some fucking play on the overheads, fucking. Over in the automotive section, we've got deals on oil and rags.
Blue light special.
Blue light special.
Yeah, I could see how you might think that's bad in an enjoyable way.
But, you'd be wrong. That's a great song.
All right.
Yeah. Speaking of the fate of old things, Tyler in Bentonville, Arkansas. After sitting vacant for almost a decade, someone has purchased our local Hollywood Video and rebranded it as Hollywood Liquor.
Yeah.
They even repurposed the original signage.
It's great. I mean, that's why you would call it
smart.
that, right? Is because you're like, well, the
Yeah.
sign's still here. Let's just use that.
Do you think this is the natural progression of the movie and game rental industry?
Oh, yeah. I mean, eventually
it's a
you're just
liquor
like,
store?
let's just get wasted and stream some movies.
That's right.
I can't stream booze.
Big shout out to Tyler, who sent a low-res photo of what he's talking about.
Mhm.
And I responded and said, that is amazing. Could you send a higher res photo? And within like 45 minutes,
He was nearby.
he was back with an incredibly high res up-close photo.
Good job,
So
buddy.
you really get the effect.
That's great. That is the
and
Hollywood
it's-
Video Hollywood. They
And it's
just
quite an effect.
all they had to do was buy the part of the sign that said liquor and put it right next to
It's
it. And
really an
that's
amazing
good shit.
And the
People out there that work there came outside. They're like, what are you doing?
the windows are covered with full window advertisements for Don Julio, Smirnoff, and Captain Morgan.
The man on the podcast told me to take a picture.
Good job way to go, Hollywood Liquor.
Congratulations to everyone involved.
Yep. Danielle from Santa Clarita, California.
Yeah.
I just listened to episode 605 and heard you discussing games with bees in them. My brothers and I grew up playing B-52 on the NES, where the whole purpose is to pollinate flowers and bring honey to your beehive.
Right.
Talk about sexy.
I'm not sure how popular it was, but it was one of my favorites. I'd never heard of that
I
game.
want to say that was an unlicensed game.
Is that so?
Bootleg material.
This clip that she sent
the Nintendo seal of quality
starts with a big ass Codemasters logo.
There you go. Yeah, that's a sign.
And then immediately goes to, I think it was Camerica.
That means it was one of those gold cartridges. I want to say.
So does that mean it was originally like maybe a Commodore game or something like that? Like,
It's possible.
when I see Codemasters and I hear unlicensed, I'm just like, oh my god, that's just a port of a.
It's possible that it existed
Of like
on
a-
an Amiga,
Amiga
some other
or a
computer
Commodore
something
game, isn't it?
At a point, but I don't know. Codemasters definitely did. Like Stunt Kids, I think existed on other platforms first, but maybe that's one of those cartridges that had a switch on the bottom, where it's like if you got a later NES with a different lockout chip, you need to switch it over to B, to get the game to work at all.
Yeah. B-52 is not the worst name for a game about bees, I'm going to say.
I only saw one B.
Nathan from Tumwater, Washington. Nathan from Tumwater, Washington, and Nathan from Olympia, Washington are me. I am really close to Olympia, but actually live in Tumwater. I don't know about Nathan from Tacoma or Puyallup.
Okay.
So, kind of narrowing down our Nathans here a little
Great.
bit.
All right.
Zeroing.
I guess just depending on the day.
One Nathan per state. That's our policy.
This is really getting to be too much.
We need a Montana Nathan, and we need a West Virginia Nathan,
Yes.
and then we will have completed the set.
Do we need separate Nathans for both Dakotas?
Yes, absolutely. We need a North Nathan and a South Nathan.
Okay, good. I should probably just go ahead and read the other email he sent in.
Okay.
What's the best place to go on a first date?
Like a movies, like a food,
I was going to say
coffee. I don't know.
coffee is not bad. Is it like a
Yeah.
museum or something?
Yeah,
Like something
sure.
that inspires some interaction.
But then, like, you're trying to flex too hard, or they might be flexing too hard that they know more about art
Yeah.
than you do.
Or a park.
Okay.
Movies is a little counterproductive, I feel like.
Yo,
a
I
lot
got
of-
the best idea for a first date. Sit down, everybody, listening
I am
besides
okay.
us.
All right.
Can't
All right. You go to a bookstore,
Got
right?
it.
And then you and your date, whoever they are, you pick out the best book for them that you have never read, and then you exchange books. It's like, hey, I feel like you might be into poetry by Maya Angelou and this graffiti book. Here you go.
You're almost definitely locking in a second date.
Yes.
I see
Because
what
then you
you're-
got to lock in. It's like, hey, did you read the book?
It's a book report at that
I
point,
expected
which is very hot.
6 pages, double spaced in 2 weeks.
Also, it seems like that's a good way to know right off the bat
Whether
if that's going to work. Because if they pull some bullshit for you, you're like, oh, that's what you think of me?
Yeah.
Fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah. Have I used this several times? Yeah.
yeah,
Does it work every time? What's the hit rate? Like 100%? Hit rates are terrible. I don't.
he's dating all of them still.
God, I shouldn't have said this out loud, huh?
And
Third date, do a puzzle together.
Do a puzzle.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You got to pick where you
Before
do the
the
puzzle,
date,
though.
right?
That's really
Yeah,
dicey.
Yeah, I suppose.
Bookstore.
I went to
Go to a bookstore. Do
I played
the puzzle.
BattleTech with Lisa.
That's
That was
that's not
fucking
bad.
rad.
But again, like
That's pretty good. That's pretty
did
good.
every single one of these lead to a second date?
Yes.
Okay.
One of them picked a Tickle Me Elmo book, and I was very confused because there was a bunch of versions of that book, and they specifically chose the one that was broken.
I hear you.
Broken Tickle Me Elmo.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know what they're trying to say about your boy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Man, I'd still be thinking about that. Jeez.
Yeah.
Damn.
You got to talk that out with somebody.
Yeah. I chose one of the Halo books for a date. And they had no idea about video games at all.
Why would you do that?
Why? You didn't want to date this person?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
A couple more emails real fast. Ben in Boston. Last week, you briefly talked about new consoles being an opportunity for platform holders to rebuild features and systems that have been bolted onto the previous machines after the fact. An example you mentioned in the past is how a lot of online services were Frankensteined onto the PS3 and 360 as that generation continued, but were then codified much more cleanly with PS4 and Xbox One. Looking forward to the next consoles, what specific features do you think will benefit most from a clean pass? Streaming? How downloads are handled? Low power suspend modes?
I think that's the stuff they've said. I think the download stuff is
Yeah, the
specifically
download one.
like, one that's ready to change. But I think they've also said as much that they will change that.
Yeah,
in some ways.
building that stuff in at the ground level sounds like a pretty awesome thing to do. I would love to see the low power suspend stuff get better. Like I've been using that for Outer Worlds because it's 100% offline with no server anything to connect to.
Yeah.
It's been working pretty well, but I still feel like I don't ever 100% trust it.
I still don't use it.
Yeah.
I never do.
Yeah. Especially for like any game that has to hit a server.
Right.
Feels like it does not gracefully handle that stuff.
Like it depends on the game. Like some games will just gracefully reconnect to a
Reconnect.
server when you
Some-
relaunch them.
yeah.
Some will be like server dropped, returning to main menu,
Right.
and you're like,
Right.
cool.
Right. It's just useless. Like
Lost
it
my
would be
shit.
nice for that stuff to be built in like as a TCR at the ground
Yeah,
level.
yeah,
That every game has to work properly with that. I can't think of much else.
I think could you do a better job of integrating VR into the PlayStation in terms of like, hey, these games are in a separate section by default,
Yeah.
or when you put on the VR headset, it's going to present you with a VR, like here's your VR games,
Right.
like there's stuff around that could probably be done better.
Yeah.
Stuff around. I don't know. I guess they do this stuff fine. I was going to say like HDR and screen size stuff and resolution stuff. Like, is there a better way to handle that? But that stuff seems mostly fine.
Yeah.
But like a lot of that stuff is done on a per game basis, even though there is a system wide level.
True.
Actually, I think like last for PS4 firmware update, I launched a game that has HDR support. That shall remain nameless. That popped up a system level menu and had me do HDR adjustments there.
Huh. Interesting.
Which was weird.
Huh.
And I don't know if that's new for 7.0 or what, but
I think on the Microsoft side, it'll be interesting to see a new whole console launch now that Game Pass is a thing. Like, see if they build that console interface more directly around you being subscribed to that. And like, I don't know what that is, if that's just pushing new offerings on the service to you more directly or somehow streamlining your
and
access
also like
to Game Pass.
Mixer to a certain extent. Like they bolted that stuff into the Xbox One interface
Right.
and then recently are redoing it so it's not a tab, it's just,
Right.
or it's not an app, it's just there, I think is what it is. So another pass at that.
Yeah.
Where you get to kind of like, here's the gut check. How much do you really care about your streaming platform? How prominently will it be featured on the dashboard of the next box and all that stuff?
Yeah, Microsoft has built out a bunch of new infrastructure this generation. Then I'd be curious to see how they.
And Sony just pulled out the Facebook integration.
Yeah, I considered bringing that up, but I haven't been able to find why they did it.
I want to say that Facebook changed a lot of stuff about third-party integrations and how often they need to re-auth, and they may have changed some stuff about using that API that maybe Sony just said like, we'll just pull it out altogether rather than update it. Like, fuck this.
We have data on how often people use this, and it's never or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
just saw the system alert in the PS4 interface. Hey, the Facebook stuff's coming out, and I was like, awesome. Fuck that.
Yeah.
That shit out of here. Let's see. Is this the last email? This might be the last email.
It looks like it.
Could be.
I have no idea.
Could be. Let's make it the last email.
Smells like it.
This is from Luke. I don't remember this coming up. I don't know if I was not here. It's so weird to go from laughing at the concept of Big Mac pies on the Bombcast. When did that get discussed?
Don't.
That was when we were talking about meat pies, probably.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
I guess so. When was that?
Yeah, like a cheeseburger pie or something like that.
Was that last week?
That was last week.
Why do I have like no memory of that?
Meat pies do that to you.
That's true.
You want to forget about it.
Whether you're eating a meat pie or not, they tend to get on top of you.
Yeah, that's I had a meat pie over at the
meat
Henry's
pie place
and got one of those meat pies recently, and it was rewarding.
He says, it's so weird to go from laughing at the concept of Big Mac pies on the Bombcast to then discover these a few hours later.
Oh, boy.
He links to a site called Woolworths, apparently in Australia.
Woolworths, like the supermarket chain?
I guess so.
Or not supermarket.
There's a box of 6 frozen cheeseburger-flavored spring rolls.
Oh, they got that at the Cheesecake Factory.
Appear to be Big Mac in
wow.
Spring roll form.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm into. I'd give that a go.
Despite the cheeseburger name, I think these have more of a Big Mac flavor, but obviously can't be called that without the Mickey D's branding. They are, of course, Australian.
I guess Woolworths is a different thing there.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
The one here would be more like, I don't know, like the Emporium.
You can buy
department
yarn.
store. Yeah.
You can buy yarn there.
Yeah. Clothes and shit.
Actually, hold up. I had one other Big Mac email that I lost. Let me see if I can find it.
How do you lose them?
We get all these Big Mac emails.
Oh, no. Oh, man.
Where'd it go?
Oh, no. We lost the Big Mac email.
I found it.
Oh, thank fucking God.
Because I remembered they talked about sesame seeds.
Throw this whole podcast out.
They talked about sesame seeds, so I searched sesame, and here it is. It's from Ty, also in Sydney, Australia.
Okay.
This week, Jan mentioned a hypothetical Big Mac meat pie. It exists, albeit with a name that won't get anyone sued, and only during the Easter show for a couple of weeks, once a year. I give you the Big Mick. I ate one earlier this year, and it was great. Exactly as advertised. It's a perfect recreation of a Big Mac, only it's a pie and not a burger. There's even sesame seeds on the crust. I'm truly surprised Australian McDonald's hasn't launched their own version. Picture of this thing is pretty much
fantastic.
Exactly what you expect.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It is very much the exact layers of a Big Mac fried into apparently a sesame seed covered pastry crust.
Why not?
Sign me up, dude.
Sounds pretty good.
Yep.
Not gonna lie.
Why not, man?
Yeah, I guess so.
I'll make it happen.
2 more emails about 80 songs have come in the last 15 minutes.
All right. Well, we are obligated to take them. These are hot off the fucking press. Like,
this person filled in their name field on Gmail with the word Gmail.
It's great.
Which I find to be pretty funny.
Google has an opinion on this, apparently.
Tom's Diner is the worst 80s song.
Fuck you.
Says Gmail.
Fuck off. Gmail. What about Jeannie's Diner? What about that terrible Britney Spears cover of Tom's Diner? If you want to say that, that's maybe more of a 90s thing.
I've never heard of that.
It sucks.
Oh, that sounds bad.
It just fucking sucks.
Oh, that sounds really
Everyone
bad.
involved could have done better.
Wow. This other one came from Kenny in Cleveland, Ohio. He's the second person to suggest this. Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney.
Oh, come on. Yeah. I mean, look.
I don't know if Christmas songs even count.
Yeah.
That's a protected class of
Wonderful
pop songs.
Christmas Time. I think I see why people. I don't know.
That's fine.
Someone I know sampled that for a rap song once.
Okay.
So I have a different take on it than anyone ever should, I guess. I don't know. That song's fine.
Okay.
That video is ridiculous.
I don't.
It's just Paul McCartney hanging out in a fucking bar, as far as I remember.
I mean, what else you can do on Christmas?
Exactly.
I ask you. All right, that's it for emails.
Okay.
Bombcast@giantbomb.com. I'm like looking at the inbox, waiting for
waiting for a new song.
Another song to appear any moment now.
I feel like we need to probably start building a list around these songs and really rank this stuff for people.
Just among the ones that have already been sent in, or
maybe on a go forward basis, we start building a list. You know, like, is Kokomo the current worst song of the 80s?
I just because you want like a ranking of 80s songs.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah, but like focused on the worst. We're focused on the bottom end.
Mm-hmm.
I just went down the dark road of typing top 80 songs into Google.
Top 80 songs that are the worst.
Top 80 songs. My girl wants to party all the time.
Oh man, that's a bad song.
Fuck you.
Not a fan.
It's like, what if Rick James wrote a song and Eddie Murphy sang it? That'd be probably all right.
I'm trying to find.
I actually really like that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boogie in the Butt. Another class. Eddie Murphy's just nothing but hits.
Oh boy.
I think if you look on his Spotify page, it's those two songs and then the song he sang from Shrek.
Yeah. Maybe he sang something
record.
for the new Dolomite movie he's in.
Oh boy.
Oh god.
I'm trying to find some like definitive.
I'm gonna have to sign back up for Netflix and watch that fucking Dolomite movie. I think it looks so good. The trailer looks so fucking good.
I'm trying to find some like definitive list of 80 songs, but like, how would you rank those? Like the best I've got. I mean, you know, everybody's got their own top 100.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like here's Billboard's.
But that might be by sales or something, right?
Like I'm trying to find like what is the most objective metric. Like the best I've got is I just pulled up the Wikipedia list of Billboard Hot 100 number one singles of the 80s, and then sorted by weeks at number one.
Sorted by descending.
How do you feel about that?
What's number one? Is it Thriller?
Nope. It's Physical.
Awesome.
Number two,
okay.
Betty Davis Eyes.
Yeah, not a huge fan. Sure. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's,
All right.
Okay.
That rasp.
Endless Love by Diana Ross and Lionel Richie.
I could do without it.
Every Breath You Take.
Kind of creepy.
Let's see.
I'm not a big Diddy guy anymore.
I Love Rock and Roll.
Sure. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
What else we got on here? Ebony and Ivory, Billie Jean. Call Me by Blondie.
Call Me's a good song.
Centerfold.
Centerfold?
That's a good song.
Yeah, that is a good song.
All right.
The fuck is wrong with people?
I don't know. A lot. I guess. Okay, let's stop talking about this.
All right.
Thanks for everybody for God damn it.
No, we're gonna
we
build
just
this
get another
list.
one?
We're gonna
Two more, just-
okay. All right.
Okay.
We're gonna start the list with these two. We're gonna rank these two in turn, and number one will be the worst. That's how we're building this list.
Cam from KC says Danger Zone isn't nearly as good as people say.
Okay, it is currently the worst song of the 80s. Go ahead. What's the next song?
All right.
Paul writes in, subject line, Total Eclipse of the Heart Can Suck It.
What? Fuck you, dude.
Body big time.
Danger Zone is worse than Total Eclipse of the Heart.
True.
By default.
Yes, I would absolutely agree
Because
with
Total
that.
Eclipse of the Heart is a good song. Danger
like-
Zone?
It's a great song.
I agree.
Nah, I don't hate Danger Zone. I don't want to hear it.
Fine.
But
it served its
fine.
purpose.
Yes, yeah. But removed from said purpose and taken just as a song, is
Yeah.
Danger Zone a good song?
don't
No.
No, because I immediately, like, I would build that world around that.
Sure,
song.
I guess so. But I feel like Danger Zone is just like middling to slightly below middling.
Okay. Emails are
It's
just
not the worst song.
It's pretty good.
emails are just appearing in
For
this
what it
inbox
is.
in real time as I look at it.
Okay.
It does what it does well.
Someone needs to be writing this down.
I got
Okay,
it.
great. Jan.
Corey from Tampa says the worst 80s song is Everybody Have Fun Tonight by Wang Chung.
Fuck off.
No.
That song is better than Danger Zone, worse than Total
Yeah.
Eclipse of the Heart.
And so
Worse than
far, I
Danger
would
Zone.
agree with
Worse
this
than Danger.
ranking top to bottom.
So that's number 2 then?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say Danger Zone at the bottom.
You guys are fucked.
Well,
With one being the worst.
if one is being the worst, then Danger Zone is still technically the worst
we're ranking
song.
the worst
Yeah,
songs?
Yeah.
Okay. Then Danger
Because let's
Zone
make
is-
this like just one more step of convoluted.
Okay, great. I should probably close this
We need some
tab.
rules.
Should close this tab.
What was that last song?
Everybody Have Fun Tonight.
Have Fun Tonight by Wang Chung.
Which is a fun song.
Which is a fun fucking song.
Because they say to have fun in it.
yeah. And
they
I did.
composed a song that lends itself to that purpose.
Yes. And the video was weird with the flipping they were standing in two places and they flip back and forth. The frames.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
this.
I remember.
Fucking fucked up, man.
I swear the last one.
Happened to my eyes.
I'm going to close this web browser.
All right.
Robert says, Holiday Road, only due to annoying catchiness with no substance.
Unfamiliar.
I like Holiday Road.
know
That's
that
the song from Vacation.
Unfamiliar.
That's the Lindsey Buckingham
Oh,
song.
shit, yeah.
Holiday
Okay.
Road. Yeah. I like that song.
That's
The chorus is kind of fun.
I think that song is better than Total Eclipse of the Heart,
Whoa.
putting it at the bottom of our list.
I can't agree.
Okay, all right. If you guys feel strongly about Total Eclipse of the Heart,
I feel very
I
strongly.
will cede on that and
Very strongly.
put it above Total Eclipse of the Heart, which is
Okay.
still technically the best song
But
of the 80s.
are you saying it's better than Everybody Have Fun Tonight? Holiday Road? I could go either way.
I would take Everybody
Yes.
I could go either way on that one.
Holiday Road is better than
I think
Everybody
it's a
Have Fun
better
Tonight.
song.
Yeah.
sure,
overall.
Sure.
Okay,
I'm fine. I'm fine
yeah,
with that.
Yes.
Danger Zone.
Danger Zone's still technically the worst song of the 80s
Yeah.
by our metrics.
M to the J says, reminder, Paula Abdul's Opposites Attract released November 29th, 1989.
It's got that fucking animated cat in the video.
That's the video.
MC Scat Cat
That's
put out an album of his own that was poor.
That's the video.
I can
though.
see that.
We got to rate this.
I can't separate the two, Brad.
I don't know.
And I like to smoke. That's a good song. That's a good song.
Oh, man.
They keep
I-
coming.
Are we putting that on the list? Where are we putting that on the list? We need a monitor in here.
Okay,
now.
so
Shit.
damn. Okay, so number 1, we got Danger Zone. Number 2, Everybody Have Fun Tonight. Number 3, Holiday Road. Number 4, Total Eclipse of the Heart.
I'm gonna say this goes above Holiday Road because it's worse than Opposites Attract is
Yeah.
worse than Holiday Road.
Yes.
Okay, so it's number. Yes.
I think it's also worse
Two.
than Everybody Have Fun Tonight,
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
but not as bad as Danger Zone.
Yeah.
Oh,
Am I forgetting one? I think that's all of them.
still
Yeah,
feel
we
ill.
got 5 so far. Once again, it's Danger Zone. Everybody Have Fun Tonight. Now Opposites Attract. Holiday Road. Total Eclipse of the Heart.
I'm going to close the browser before I say this so that we can't keep doing this.
All right.
This came from Craig. Closing the browser now. I think this is a new number 1. Billy Ocean, Get Out of My Dreams.
But then you get into his car. I don't know.
I think that chorus
That
is
key
just,
change.
Yeah, but the chorus is
when he
just
stops, get
so-
out of my, get out of, like fucking hits it, like
Shit.
that's you get fucking amped.
I feel
You're
like
man.
a key change is like a lazy out though. It makes any bad song better. It's gonna amp you up no matter what shit you're
Fucking
listening to. And it's great for that reason, but it's a lazy crutch when your chorus is as cheesy as this.
It's worse than Everybody Have Fun Tonight. I guess. How about do you feel about that? I feel like that's the concession play here.
Okay.
I don't think it's.
I think I guess Danger Zone can stay for now.
Thank you.
For now.
Thank you.
For now.
Let's just kill it.
All right.
Danger Zone. Congratulations, the worst song of the 80s.
I don't.
As of this week.
As of this week,
We'll see.
I don't.
All right, we got 6 on the list.
Uh-oh.
So,
Oh shit.
no, never mind. That's good.
That's all the material we've got to work with.
Yeah, I was going to talk
No
about
more,
a different
no more.
song, but
That's it for emails.
all right.
Close the list. We can't edit it
All right.
anymore.
Okay.
Can't talk about this.
You didn't
anymore.
save it either, did you?
No.
No. Okay, good.
But don't worry, it'll get documented. I'm confident.
Yeah.
I'm going to create a Spotify playlist of these songs in the correct order. That's what we need to be be doing here. Is
Yeah.
really
No, it
just,
should be in the
really
reverse
building
order, right?
this
Don't you want to
list.
build up to the worst song? You have to,
Right, it
you have to
needs to be a
suffer through
countdown.
every
Yeah.
other song
Yeah.
before you can get to that song.
Like a nightmare.
We'll
All
get
right.
back to this.
Okay.
All right.
Can't wait.
Bombcast@giantbomb.com.
Yep.
The email address to send all of your 80s songs to. Thank you, everyone,
But
for
only the bad
listening.
ones.
Games are happening.
Yes.
We will do a proper quick look of the Outer Worlds.
Yes.
Call of Duty comes out this week.
God, yes, it
Right.
does, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's happening.
Guess I'll pre-order a copy of that.
Check that out. Fair number of indie games coming out left and right. that we're
Independent video
gonna
games.
Take a look at. Those continue to
Yes.
Oh yeah.
be a threat.
Ain't no stopping.
No.
And then wrestling.
Wrestling will happen.
Yes.
Tomorrow.
All that sort of stuff.
Live.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Games will get covered here. We'll do some streams and some other stuff too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got some business.
Yes. Stay tuned for that.
I wrote a control review.
Yes.
It's up on the website
That's
now.
right.
I got a
Review.
Gears 5 review in the hopper that'll run momentarily as long as someone reads it and says you didn't use bad words in it.
What
Your words
counts,
are good.
What counts as a bad word?
I'll leave that to you.
Okay. All right. That's a lot of power.
Damn.
Okay. Well, look for stuff on the website. And
So those are games I played and finished during my paternity leave, and just finally had time to write. Finally,
that's fair. All right. Well, stay tuned for the coverage of the games of the season later this week and another edition of this podcast next week. See you then. Bye.